if you think about a cowboy hat less from a cultural aspect and you think about a cowboy hat more from a functionality perspective, you have two choices when it comes to hats. You can either get a fedora, right, no sun coverage, or you can get a cowboy hat. Yeah. So if those are like your two choices, your store-bought options, and you're working all day out in the sun, it doesn't really matter how much cattle you've got. If you need to protect your head, there's fedora or cowboy hat. And so at some point it's like, it's not even a cultural thing as much as just like, you know, skin cancer.
Hey guys, today we're in Louisville, Kentucky, and we're at Wild Hats. Chandler, thanks for having us in, buddy.
Dude,
appreciate it.
Appreciate you, man.
Absolutely. You know, we've talked on the phone, we've talked in text, and finally we made it out here. We wanted to check out your store because you guys are doing something a little different. And I didn't understand it at first, but after talking to you, you know, it kind of became more clear of what your vision was and what you were planning to do and what you are doing in the industry, because you're not necessarily making cowboy hats, you're making hats for everybody. And you have a unique perspective on kind of your customers. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, so I mean, what I've noticed in particular is that most of our customers are coming to us, and some of them are actually purchasing their first hat ever. And a lot of these people are like, call it 30 to 60 years old, which means that some of these people have had 60 years, now call it when they could afford something, from 40 years where they could afford to buy something and they didn't buy it. And to me, what that kind of represents is that there is a group of people, maybe not an overwhelmingly large group of people, that just don't feel seen and heard in a specific market, and they're just looking for something a little bit different. And there's like this whole, if you look at almost every single hat page out there, now granted, not every single hat page, but a lot of people harp on this concept of like every hat has a story. And I think if you focus on every hat has a story, then essentially you're taking a little bit of an egotistical perspective where it's like the hat makes the story for the person, whereas the reality is that the person is the story and the hat is just a personification of who they are. It's an addition to them. And so all we try to do is just listen to what people want and make those things. And what ends up happening is things end up being a little bit different. Things end up being a little bit crazy, a little bit wild, and sometimes super classic. But the big focus to us is just listening, trying to figure out what they want, and keeping an open mind. And I think what ends up happening is we do look a little different. We do look a little non-traditional. And that's mainly just because most people actually are non-traditional. There's not really a specific mold. I think people really underestimate the size of the world, and I think the world feels incredibly localized, right? You think about your community, and then you think that that's how the world reflects. But I think even if you were to take a small subset of the population and just say, this is the population of people who think a little bit differently, people who want something a little bit abstract, and you put that all together, you're still talking about millions and millions of people. And all we're doing is we're just getting millions of people a new perspective on hats. And then eventually, maybe they start out with something crazy, but eventually they might want something clean, they might want something classic. So all we're trying to do is just build the industry up by getting people that were on the fence or maybe felt slightly disenfranchised by the hat industry in their first hat. That's it.
You know, a lot of these hats that are out there right now that are pre-shaped kind of go to what you're saying, right? That's like, this is what you should wear. You know, George Strait, cattleman crown, you know, and then there's not many other options. If you want a hat and you're in Wisconsin, right, and you go to a boot barn, you're going to find a pre-shaped hat, and it's a cattleman 9 times out of 10.
Dude, I mean, forget Wisconsin, like we're in Kentucky. You know what I mean? Like we're physically right here in Kentucky, and like your options, if not us, and this is like most cities around the US, besides Texas, right? Like y'all are the kings, right? You know what I mean? Like everything in Texas, nothing but praise. You know what I mean? Like Texas has it going on. Texas has it dialed in. Texas has it figured out. You guys got custom hatters. You guys have you guys have hat shapers in essentially boot barns that are probably more high quality hat shapers than you would find in a custom hatter in a fringe town.
Yeah.
Right? So Texas has it going on. So if we just strike the record clean on Texas and just say Texas has it figured out, you know what I mean? And then you focus on the other 49 states, arguably, yeah, your options are boot barn or your local hatter. And I just think, you know, depending on that particular local hatter's flavor, that is the only option that people have in that market. And the internet's created this world now where you don't, not to say you don't have to shop with your local hatter, because I believe in shopping local. Huge fan of shopping local. But you're kind of at a point now where you can leverage the power of the internet to find new things, and that's kind of where we fit in, is just trying to figure out how to leverage the internet to reach everybody so that you don't have two choices in Topeka, Kansas. You know what I mean?
Right.
We are that third option, even though I've never been to Topeka. You know what I mean?
Well, you should go. Kansas is a great state.
You been to Topeka?
I don't know if we've been to Topeka. We have. I'm being told we have been.
You've been to Topeka. Good. I will add Topeka to the list.
Yeah. I lost myself now.
I'm gonna f you up all day, bro.
That's okay. What was I saying?
Topeka, Kansas, man.
Shit. Where do we go from here?
Non-traditional hats.
Non-traditional. Yeah. So I know where it's going to go. It was about internet sales. Mm-hmm. So you have probably 90% of your customers are internet sales.
I mean, sometimes more than that.
It's only been probably the last 6-7 years where internet sales of hats have really kind of skyrocketed up. And I'm talking about specifically not pre-shaped hats, but hand-shaped hats.
I mean, I would argue yes. If I was to, come here, Jackson. If I was to backtrack and remember, a few years ago on the internet specifically, how many hat makers were on the internet and what I would call custom hat makers, I think the only one at that point that was arguably doing, now granted, someone's going to get in the comments and tell me this guy's been doing it for this long and everything. Totally fine, right? From what I could see as a child of the internet generation, right, and a person who spends probably an inordinate amount of time on the internet, I only saw one hat maker on YouTube. Jackson.
Sorry, buddy. We've kind of taken over his space every place the dog wants to lay down. So.
As far as what I saw on YouTube, and funny enough, we actually, talking about Kansas, we actually went out, Jackson.
Jackson. This will be great.
Hey, Ulysses, you want to call Jackson?
Did we move his pillow? Maybe he wants back in that chair with his pillow fluffed.
No, this is nap time, actually.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so he usually sleeps either on that or right there.
Right where the camera is.
Right where the camera is, yeah. But as far as what I saw originally on the internet, there was Nick Fouquet out of Los Angeles,
yeah,
right, in terms of custom hatters, and all praise to him, because arguably, in terms of somebody taking the non-traditional and making it, or taking the traditional and making it non-traditional, in my opinion, he was probably one of the first guys that I've ever seen, take a blowtorch to a hat or distress a hat up, right? That wasn't a super popular thing until a few years ago, right? Most hats were pretty clean and classic.
Right.
And so, I would argue he was probably one of the first people to be doing that. I'm sure there were other people that were doing it. I'm just saying in the public eye, right? Because there's doing things, and then there's people knowing that you're doing them. Those are two separate things. You could be doing something for 20 years, but if no one knows you exist, it's what does that mean, right? And so as far as what I saw on the internet, I saw him 7 years ago, right? I saw, and then there was this guy named Grizz, Hats by Grizz, and he's out of New Elmelo, Kansas. We actually went out there when we first were learning how to make hats, reached out to him via YouTube. And his wife, Miss Grizz, reached out, and he's looks like a sheriff kind of guy, character. And if you ever see him on YouTube, shout out Hats by Grizz. And he does things a pioneer style way. I'm talking hot irons on a stove. I'm talking a insecticide thing full of shellac with a shellac room. And he had these old Beaver brand hat bodies. And we reached out to him because we wanted to buy stiffened bodies. And they said, we won't sell you any hats, but if you ever make your way to Kansas, we'll teach you everything we know.
Really?
Now, arguably nothing that we learned that day we use today, because most of it takes it's handcrafted to the fullest, to the point of no mechanized systems, right? Not scalable. But I will say that, like, surprisingly enough, you've got a guy in New Elmelo, Kansas that was leveraging YouTube 7 or 8 years ago. So it didn't really make much sense. But now what you see is, like, I mean, everyone, you're a hat guy. I'm a hat guy. Now, full disclosure, we do not, all of our algorithms are currently baked to not include any hat content. Because I think that if you view too much hat content, the brain will metabolize all the information spontaneously, and then all of a sudden you just become a mix match of everybody's best ideas. You're somebody else's greatest hits album. You're like a now 14 of hat makers, right? You know what I mean? You've got this shape, you've got this card, some stitching over here, right? And you have no original ideas. So I don't watch all of it. However, there's no doubt about it that it feels like, if you're a hat person, that everybody and their grandmother is making hats now. And as soon as somebody buys a hat from us and starts viewing our content, the algorithms, boom, dish out a billion hat makers of everybody doing the same thing.
Right.
And so if you kind of look at how it's evolved, first it was, this is a hat, photo of a hat. Then it was photo of a guy in a hat. Then it was like photo of guy or video of guy talking about hat. Then it was like vibey videos of people making hats with like pre-picked sound things that like maybe made the video go more viral, but like arguably didn't really match. And then at some point in time, it shifted into what I would call almost entertainment. And that's kind of like where we've entered now, which I think it's bridged the gap into what I would call storytelling, which is like you're on the internet, and if you're telling a story about a hat, it might resonate with people. And I think that's kind of where we've entered. That's the mode. And so I don't know where that goes from here. You know what I mean? I don't know. We were joking about, we made an Indiana Jones reel, and I was going to barrel roll and grab the hat. And Ulysses said to me, he's like, once you barrel roll, man, there's no f***ing coming back. You know what I mean? Because at that point, everyone's going to be like, oh, I need you to spike the nail, do this, do a barrel roll. Can you do a backflip? You know what I mean? At that point, it's all entertainment, no hat. Right? So I don't know where all that goes. But in terms of like what we've been a part of, it seems like people can only experience a localized experience, and if their town doesn't offer the local experience, they never experience it at all. And so what the internet has done, it has taken local and made it global. And so that's kind of what we do content-wise.
It's interesting because I don't Jack. So, it's interesting because I don't know where to go from here personally, right? Because I'm a hat shaper. I shape a lot of hats, but none of my videos are really of me shaping a hat. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, when we go to events, she'll take video or something of me shaping hats for mm-hmm. different people. But none of my videos are like that. My videos are interview style or really showing the process of how a hat's made. Mm-hmm. You see all of these videos, all of these guys who are hat shapers, they put them shaping hats on the internet, and it's kind of boring. People want to watch it, but they don't really care about the guy shaping it, I don't think. Mm. And so I don't know where to go. We want to show the process, and we want to show different hats, and we want to show why you would choose this hat over that hat, or talk about the colors matching, whatever it takes. But to get people interested, I don't know where to go.
I mean, if you want like the cold hard facts, if you do not have a crazy name, if you don't have some sort of hook, and you don't have some sort of razzle dazzle, we may get millions of video views. But if I was to say today, and I did a video and I said, let's make a classic cowboy hat, objectively speaking, that video would bomb.
Yeah. Didn't you just do a classic cowboy hat video?
Yeah.
Did it bomb?
I mean, we're actually doing that today.
Oh, okay.
But like yesterday, we did a hat called Swamp Thing, right? Guy drove 12 hours from Texas, actually. No, Florida. Texas was last week. Guy drove 12 hours to come here because he wanted a hat for gator hunting, right? And so it's crazy. It's out of control, right? But it's him. Mm-hmm. And he felt good about it. And he was like, this is something that I can't get anywhere else, and I have a feeling that you guys can do that, right? If he had come in here and he said, I want to get a gator hunting hat, right? And we essentially just made what could arguably be considered a copy of an Akubra, right? Because I mean, arguably, an Akubra would probably be the perfect gator hunting hat. You know what I mean? Little pull down the front, little pull down the back, out back roll a little bit, like kind of Crocodile Dundee, but not. With a classic band, arguably, that's a gator hunting hat. I mean, what is a gator hunting hat? It's so subjective, right?
Right.
But you know, at the end of the day, it's like, I think people at this point, I think the internet has created, I call it like we're in the age of voyeurism, where like everybody is enjoying watching a character, because I think what's happening, even though no one wants to admit it, is that everyone feels slightly trapped in their own lives, and it's a really scary feeling to feel like everything that you do every single day, you have no escape. And I think social media provides a bit of escapism. You know what I mean? You can view this thing, you can dream, you can hope. And so arguably all we're trying to do from a storytelling perspective is we're saying, like, you know, this could be you. You know, we have a hat called the whiskey drinking hat, right?
You're right.
And it's like, you know, do you like drinking whiskey? This is your new favorite whiskey drinking hat, right? Like this, you have a couple pours of your favorite bourbon, you put your hat on, and boom, you're free. Like you're not, you know, John the accountant anymore. You know what I mean? You're bourbon connoisseur John, you know, and you're just like hanging out with your buddies, and like when you put that hat on, it's party time. Monday through Friday, you know what I mean, you got this job, you're crunching numbers, but you know, you get home, you pop that hat on, you pour a whiskey, and you light up a cigar, and now you're, you know what I mean, you're John, the cool guy, like you're just hanging out. And we try to portray that through the social media, which is just like, you can be who you want to be, and the hat is a part of that, and that's what we try to do. And I think the issue maybe some people are running into, I think people are doing great on social media, but I think a lot of it becomes more technical versus entertainment. And I think the type of people that are into the technical stuff is like you, me, and anybody that's familiar with hats. But like the concept of trying to explain the technicalities of how to shape a particular brim and how to do this and how to do that, arguably from a technical perspective, if a guy's never going to shape a hat, what does he care about how flat it has to be in the front before you turn it up to get a perfect square brim?
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like you're talking about what intrigues you, hoping that it intrigues everybody else, but nobody's thinking about you. Nobody fucking cares. Nobody's thinking about you at all. You know what I mean?
They're trying to get to work, or
dude, nobody's thinking about anybody at all. Like everybody we're all in our own lens, our own lane, our own little world, you know, and we're constantly worrying about what other people think about us when nobody thinks about us at all.
That's right.
You know
You're
what
right.
I mean? And so that's what content though has become, is like we're trying to say, look at what I like, look at what I like, look at what I like. And unless what you like is something that a mass percent of the population likes, objectively you're not going to grow on social media, because you have to just look at like what is the subset of the group that would be interested in that. And so if you're doing technical stuff in hat making and you're trying to sell hats, the only people that are probably loving and consuming that content is other hat makers.
Yeah.
And why the fuck are they going to buy a hat from you? You know what I mean?
True enough. True enough. You know, it's.
Can I swear?
Yeah, she's good at bleeping.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it's you.
All right, cool. I don't know if all that makes sense.
No, it does, but do you think? Personally, I think COVID drove a lot of that, because
The social media voyeurism.
Yeah.
The separation of people.
Yeah.
Everyone huddled in their little houses with their little screens. That is their world. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. What did you have to do? You couldn't go out, so I mean, what are you doing? You're either finding a new hobby, or you're watching somebody else find a new hobby.
And I mean, it continued to this day. But how many bicycles do you see in front yards?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Kids
Right.
don't get out anymore.
Right.
Now, granted, I don't. On TikTok, we resonate well with Gen Z, but like Gen Z in general is not what I would call the purchasing generation. You know, so like arguably like Gen X and millennials, we seem to do better with. We seem to really strike a chord with boomers as far as the John Waynes, the Clint Eastwoods, the Stevie Ray Vaughns, and everything they grew up on, because a lot of them, like, you know, granted, there's a lot of amazing hat makers that make this stuff, and we're just doing our own renditions on things, right? But, you know, like a Ronnie Van Zant hat, you know, Texas Hatters, right? They made the original one, right? So shout out them. You know, I mean, they did an amazing job on that. And it's like, you know, I'm a huge Lynyrd Skynyrd fan. We've tried to do is just find a way to package what people have been asking for a long period of time and provide it to them. And the outlet just happens to be social media, because not everyone can just walk through a store. You know, that's kind of where we're at.
So, do you have any aspirations for anything other than hats? I mean, are you going to add? What are you going to add to your line?
Oh, for sure, dude. So different, I think, than a lot of the people. Not different. I wouldn't consider myself a traditional hat maker in the sense that, like, I'm approaching hat making from a purist standpoint of saying, like, you know, I didn't wake up one day and, like, hat making was my calling. Like, my summer job was not Boot Barn, where I learned how to make shape hats, and then I studied under so and so, who was the lead of so and so. You know what I mean? Like, I got into hat making as a byproduct of a different business that I owned, which was a mezcal brand. And so hats were actually a marketing tool that I used to sell more booze, right? So that was like, that was kind of how I dove into the hat making industry. And so for me, hats were always an accessory. It was something that I wore all the time, and it was something I was passionate about. Number one, I have an in-between sized head, so hats never fit me, which means I could never go to a store and buy a hat, which is a tale as old as fucking time. You know what I mean? Like, hats just don't fit me.
Right.
I mean, how many times have you heard, well, hats just don't fit me? And it's like, is it not oval enough? Is it, you know, most common head size in the world, I would argue, based on thousands and thousands and thousands of hats that we've sold, is a size 23-inch head. Size 23-inch head is in between a 7 1/4 and a 7 3/8, which means you go in, you put a 7 3/8 on, you're swimming in it, you put a 7 1/4 on, you're suffocating. So the only hope that you have is like some toilet paper or some hat strips inside of a 59, right? And then you look like you're wearing your daddy's hat because you've got all the space on the side.
Right.
You know,
Right.
Tale as old as time. And so that's what got me into hat making was, you know, I couldn't find any hats that fit. They were always an accessory for me. But as far as like what I'm into, I'm huge into fashion. I'm huge into history. You know, a lot of our influences come from, you know, Italian culture. You know, I love Italian suits. You know, sometimes I'll post a video and I'll show my fucking shoes, and people will be like, "What the fuck is on your feet?" And I'm like, "They're velvet loafers, and they're comfy and they're fly."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I know everyone wants me to be in cowboy boots. Do I own 40 pairs of Lucchese's? Do I have custom Lucchese's? Yes. Do I have 3 different pairs of rattlesnake? Every single gator known to man. You know what I mean? I've got every animal in the animal kingdom in a pair of boots, right? But I like loafers because I stand on my feet for 15 hours a day, and these are comfortable, and they look good in a suit.
Right.
You know? And so, like, I want to get into clothes. You know, biggest influences would be like Ralph Lauren. I mean, look at what he's been able to do from home goods all the way to clothing. And what did he start with? Neckties. Neckties. I don't know if you know that.
No, I don't know if I did. So are you going to add neckties? What's next?
No.
What are you bringing?
Jackets. We're working on like leather jackets.
Yeah.
I think that's a really fun market. I'm really passionate about sunglasses. I think it'd be really cool to make our own design sunglasses. The issue that we run into is that in today's world, it is much easier to do things cheap and quick, and it is way harder to do them right. And there's only a few places in the world where you can go and get things done right. And that involves time, and that involves going, and that involves iteration. If you want good leather, you know, you got to go to Istanbul. You know, you want that good horse hide leather, like that's where they do it best, in my opinion. Japan does an incredible job as well. But it's like, if I'm gonna get into jackets, I gotta go to Turkey. You know, and I have to find the time to go to Turkey to do it right. Because what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to spend all this time trying to get hats perfect, you know, work with the best quality material in the world, and then all of a sudden pre-package up some China-made leather jacket, you know, and then say like, you know, here is the creme de la creme as far as hats go, and here's a $100 pair of sunglasses.
Yeah.
And so like, I think all that takes time, but in my opinion, in terms of iterating on products, until until I figure out how far the hat rabbit hole goes, what I don't want to do is I don't want to introduce new products that take away the time from providing the experience that people are expecting from wild hats already. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to split my time and then all of a sudden see a lower result from what people are expecting from this business.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
you kind of, your brand is big enough now where you could really partner with somebody to do that for you and lend your name to a product that they go and research for you.
I know. I'm looking into it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I mean, poking around. I mean, it's not, it's definitely not. I think at some point in time, you have two choices when it comes to hats specifically. And again, for all the brands that are doing this really well, teach me, because I don't know how they do it, right? I don't know how much volume everybody's selling. I don't know how custom everybody is. I don't know anything about the industry specifically. I just know what we're doing. I don't spend a ton of time researching other hat makers. I don't care how much business you're doing. I don't, I truthfully, at the bottom of my heart, I wish everybody the best. I hope you're doing an amazing job. I appreciate you keeping the craft alive, but I don't care. You know what I mean? Like I want everybody to win, but I have no idea what everyone's doing. But one of the issues that I'm noticing is that at some point in time, as far as custom hats go specifically, you can either lower the value of your product, right? You can make it less custom or go cheaper if you're talking about increasing revenue, right? Like, or growth. Or at some point in time, you have to just cap it and just say, like, I think that without decreasing the quality of my product and the customer service that I provide, this is the amount of hats that can be made. And we have not hit that ceiling yet, but when that ceiling is hit, I think at that point, then you introduce other products, because out of respect for what everyone knows and loves about wild hats and like the energy that we put into it, the last thing that I would ever want is I wouldn't want to say that I chose to make more money while providing a lesser service. And so eventually, when we get to the point where we cannot provide the perfect customer service experience for people and we just say this is too much, at that point, then I'll introduce other products. But that's like my thought process is like we start from the customer service experience and then we work into the hat. So it's less about, sometimes it's less about the product and it's more about people's own insecurities, as far as I've never been able to find a hat that fits. I'm worried I'm going to look stupid. Everyone comes with all these prepackaged insecurities. And so that's what we deal with at the door, right? So the front door, they walk in, we open the front door, they lay out this list of problems as far as like, why have I been on this earth for 55 years and I haven't bought a hat yet? They lay it all out. We cross all those line items out. They trust us, and then it's on us to walk them down the path to glory to prove that you didn't look stupid in a hat. You didn't do this, right? You didn't do that. And that takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of energy, and it also takes, in my opinion, a lot of love, right? Like you're part psychiatrist, part hat maker at that point, because people are worried about their ears, their nose, their jaw, their waistline, all of these different things, and you're addressing all of these concerns through a fucking piece of headwear. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's headwear, but you're addressing all of these prepackaged insecurities that all these people come with, and it's all culminating on something that goes on their fucking head. You know what I mean? Like everything comes into the head, right? Like I'm a bigger guy, I've got broad shoulders, like I don't really like my chin, my nose kind of stick, all of these things, and then all of those insecurities seem to bubble up around a hat, right? And so the long-winded answer to your question is like, when I can no longer address all of those things and feel as though I've answered all those questions that people have internally, when I feel like we can no longer provide that service, which is the service we provide, then I'll sell some jackets. It's the most long-winded answer anyone could ever give to a question. But like, that's the truth of it. Like when the customer service no longer is what people expect, then at that point, we'll look for other avenues to sell things. But avenues and products at that point, that's monetary, man. You know what I mean? I mean, it's a passion, obviously, to create those products, but anybody who says that they got into creating bandanas for the pure love of bandanas is a liar. You know what I mean? Like, for real though. Like, you might love sunglasses and wear sunglasses, but like, do you love them enough to work as hard as you work on hats? And if you don't love them that much, then it's monetary.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you've got a great artist back there who's painting on your leather sweatbands.
Mm-hmm.
I see that. I mean, you could do custom leather jackets with the custom painting. That's
Already doing it.
already doing it, really.
Well, not in the public eye, for ourselves personally, and then for special customers here and there.
Okay.
But that's a whole different avenue though of like, think about World War II, World War I, and all that. Like, all of those jackets had hand-painted patches and emblems and everything on them, right? And these days, I'll give you an example. Subtle name drop, let's go for it. We just made a hat recently for Axl Rose, and it's for a South American tour. They got the hat, they opened the hat up, they said they loved the sweatband, asked essentially like, the template on the sweatband is so cool. And I was like, no, that's hand-painted. Mind blown, right? Because nobody's doing that anymore. No one's taking the time to paint those things on there, right? But is that scalable? I don't know. I don't think that's scalable.
Well, you'd have to have 3 more Joes, probably.
You can't get another Joe. No, they only make one Joe.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that there aren't gifted painters, but when I met Joe, and he doesn't remember this, he's got a good memory, right? When I first met Joe, he was working in a coffee shop, and he was sitting there with like a few different cups of coffee, and he was using different strength roasts, and he was painting like a Boston skyline using coffee for the coffee shop.
Wow.
And I remember I literally said to him, I was like, because I owned a mezcal brand at the time, and I said to him, I was like, Joe, I don't know what it is yet, but at some point, like, I'm coming back for you. You know what I mean?
You took his number right there?
Yeah, I mean, we were friends for years, but like, then when I got into hats, I started, there was this little like Mexican shop in Oaxaca, and I bought some cowboy hats, and I brought them back, and I was giving them to bartenders as presents for buying my booze, right? And the mezcal industry is a pretty small industry, and there's another gentleman in the mezcal industry named Gilbert. He owns a brand called Marquez Classico. Shout out Gilbert, what up, buddy? And I saw, and again, like I'm not a huge fan of copying, but all credit due where credit's due, right? I saw that he was essentially doing exactly what I was doing, but he was making money off of it, right? Like he was, I believe, bringing hats back from Mexico and turning them into custom hats, right? So this is, early on in the early days, and he was doing this incredible thing. His wife was actually doing it, where she was using a wood burner and she was putting tattoos in hats. And I thought that was freaking incredible. I mean, it was the coolest thing I'd ever seen in my life. And Joe was a tattoo artist. And so I picked up the phone, I called Joe, and I was like, Joe, remember I told you, at some point, I'd have something. Like, I was like, I've got these hats that I can, bring back from Mexico, and you think you can tattoo a hat? And he was like, yeah. Like, without any hesitation. And we lived together for years. When COVID hit, things went kind of sideways with my mezcal brand, and I didn't have, long story short, I didn't have any means to provide for myself anymore, and so I ended up having to move to my dad's farm out in eastern Kentucky, and we literally lived out in the woods on 200 acres in the middle of the Daniel Boone National Forest. And the reason why I say like Joe is a one-of-a-kind artist is like when we were in the early days of like making hats but trying to make a name for ourselves, the one thing I could always count on was Joe. And it was this like funny situation where people didn't really know what they wanted, but they would give these like subtle clues.
Okay.
And I knew that Joe could burn anything, paint anything, do anything, and that became early on kind of like this small little customization option, which we were day one, in my opinion, better than most people, because I came equipped with a guy who had been painting and doing tattoos for 15 years. And so what we lacked in what I would say fundamental technical hat experience. Now granted, were we making nice hats? Sure. I mean, how many hats do you have to make before you're a proficient hat maker? 1,000, like 500?
10,000 hours is the
10,000 hours.
technical.
Yeah. So
Right?
like, if you're doing it every single day, 6 days a week, was that 3.5 years?
Yeah.
So like, arguably, were we making good hats? Were the shapes good, right? I mean, how many different, we weren't doing crazy shapes at this point, but like how many different ways can you make a fedora? Not that many, right? Cowboy hats needed some work, but worked the kinks out. But like, arguably, if the hat was good and the art was stellar, now we stood out. And the reason I love Joe so much is like, from day one, if somebody called and they were like, I really like elephants, I was like, Joe loves elephants. But like, I know Joe doesn't love elephants. I was like, he can draw the shit out of an elephant. And I could say with confidence that like Joe could do it. Like the guy was like, that scene in The Lion King where like Mufasa's looking at the elephant graveyard, and like we literally have a hat with an elephant graveyard from like 2020 or 2021 that has the whole elephant graveyard going around it. You know what I mean? Because a customer called and said like, what about Lion King? And we were like, yeah, fuck. Because like we needed money, like we would get that money in and we'd go to Walmart and we'd buy food and we were winning, So it's like my means to feed myself at that point in time was like my ability to talk to people are 6 out of 10 hat skills and Joe's 10 out of 10 art. And so like that to me, in the dawn of like laser printers and everything which you're seeing now, which is like someone puts a hat under and all of a sudden you get a photorealistic image of Elvis Presley or some shit on a hat.
Right.
I think the concept of someone being able to make something that almost looks photorealistic while at the same time being done by hand is something that for me is a huge differentiator, even if I don't want to make my namesake or my identity around the concept of putting a skull on the top of a hat. But is our skull fucking sick? Yes. You know what I mean? I don't want that to be our identity, but are we good at it?
So you don't have a laser in there? You don't need a laser?
No, we have a Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'll give you a funny Joe story. So I'm covered in tattoos, and I'm wondering like how far into the story I should go. So it's COVID.
Just go.
Just go. So it's COVID, and Joe and I liked mushrooms. And so, literally, we were locked in. We lived in Brooklyn, and we were like locked in my apartment. You know what I mean? And we used to just do tattoo. He used to just do tattoos on me all day. And I had very similar to the lighting in here. I had kind of the vibe.
It's very dark.
Yeah, Phantom of the Opera style. You know what I mean? Like kind of feels like a old Baroque classic, maybe Italian manor sort of feel. Like little Ralph Lauren, little Western. Like can't really get a vibe on it, but a lot of gold, a lot of rich tones, right? You can't see shit in there either. And Joe's doing tattoos on me, and he can't see shit. And I remember one day we were going on a camping trip. We got a camping headlight. He clicks the camping headlight on, and he's doing the tattoo, and he goes, "Holy shit!" And I go, "What?" And he goes, "I can see the lines." And I said, "What do you mean you can see the lines?" And he goes, "Well, I always thought one of the skills of why tattoo artists were so special is because you can't see the lines." And I go, "Motherfucker, you've been doing tattoos on me and you couldn't see the lines?" I had like 15 tattoos that he had done where arguably he said he couldn't see the lines. And so that means that like everything that he was doing from an artistic perspective was literally mind-hand connection with no idea of what was actually, because if I don't know, you don't look, you have a little tattoo, right?
I've got a few.
You got a few? So like arguably when you get going on a tattoo, the ink is all blotted up, and you can't really see much. Some tattoo artists wipe more than others. Joe would just go all in to the point where like your whole arm like just looked black, and then he'd do a big wipe, and he was just flying in blind, and he'd wipe that sucker off, and all of a sudden you got Achilles. You know what I mean? And it was like, it just blew my mind from like that he can see it and his hand does it. And even when he can't physically see it, the hand can do it. And so that's my long-winded story on like what makes, I think, because we talk a lot about handcrafted, handmade, done by hand. And I think Joe is a big part of that, because everyone's using lasers these days, and if they're not using lasers, they're using hot stamps for initials and everything. And I just think there's something special about trying to maintain some level of craft in artistry. I don't know if people grow up anymore believing in being artists, because the artist used to be the broke person, and now everyone's broke. So it's like, what is the artist now? It's like it's even harder to become an artist. So I think that's going to die quicker than hat making.
So are your hats pieces of art, or are they?
Whew, that's a fun
What are
question.
they?
You just think of that one?
Well, as you were talking in that whole Joe story, I thought about it, but I didn't want to interrupt you, so
I would argue to say that our hats are pieces of art would be me taking an egotistical perspective on my work and overvaluing our worth, right? And just saying like, this is a piece of art, respect it, right? The thought that goes into it, the vision that goes into it, and the level of handmade attention to detail, in my opinion, is characteristic of what would be considered art. But I would also say that the concept of shaping a hat in general is art. I mean, I always kind of, I always found it very similar to the concept of pottery. Or clay sculpting, or, sometimes when we do the folds, it's almost like origami.
Yes.
It's like, the felt is not supposed to, in some cases, bend the way that it bends, and your ability to manipulate that would be considered art.
Yeah, I see that. I usually just tell them it's not supposed to do that.
Yeah, that's right. That's where we differ. When it does a thing it's not supposed to do, we usually say, "Oh shit, we're on to something." That's like if it bends a way it's not supposed to bend, and then like it looks like it's something new, then arguably the normal person would think it's f***ed up, right? Yeah. But if you push through that barrier and correct it to the point where it looks right, then arguably you've made something unique.
So I come from an engineering background, and
oh god, yeah, we're so different. Yeah.
Right. Well, you seen me shape a hat and break out
it's
a ruler,
technical.
And you said I don't even know if we have a ruler.
Dude, we found the ruler though.
It was a yardstick.
Yeah. Is that wrong?
No, it's fine. It works.
Yeah.
But so I look at the geometry of a hat when I'm shaping, right? So the front goes down, the back goes up. All of these things, and everything needs to be symmetrical when I'm shaping a hat. Take it home and destroy it however you want, put one side down, one side up, whatever. When it leaves my bench, it's going to be symmetrical. I've had a guy recently talking about the Rip Wheeler hat. He had ordered one from a pretty famous hat store, and he wanted the Rip Wheeler hat exactly like it was done, like he wore it in the show. And he was upset that it came as it should have been before, Rip put his distressing on it.
Oh man, I don't want to interrupt you, but I got a good one on this.
Okay.
Because Facebook specifically, older demographic, and arguably different group of people that are on Facebook versus Instagram versus TikTok, right?
Yes, for sure.
Facebook specifically is where we get the most comments saying, "I love this hat before you ruined it by getting it all dirty." Do you think that Cole Hauser took that hat and worked out day one to have it look like that? Or do you think that they did an amazing job making a Rip Wheeler hat that looks like that? And yes, over the period of a season, grabbing it here and there gets that roll, right? Because he grabs it and you get that roll. Is that roll really hard to do day one? Fuck yeah. It's horrible, because we make a Rip Wheeler hat. It's horrible. To get a perfect roll with a square front, that's not natural.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not a natural shape. Square, like slim square front, roll, and then a headrest bump in the back. Yes. Like that's not natural, right? But if you're going to do it, and you're going to say this is that person's specific hat, then unless you specify and say, like which we done, like, hey, this is Clint Eastwood's hat from Fistful of Dollars, day one. But if you say, let's make Clint Eastwood's hat from Fistful of Dollars, and you don't put the bullet hole in it, is it a recreation, right? Or are you honoring essentially that specific hat? Like, did someone shoot Clint Eastwood to get the bullet hole, or did they put the bullet hole in it ahead of time? You know what I mean?
It was pretty sure it was ahead of time.
Yeah, exactly. So if you think about this concept of like pre-distress versus not distress, like I understand that people do not want other people to put dirt on their hats because they are the type of people that live a life where they are going to get dirty. I do not pre-distress my hats personally. I don't even have a band on my hat. You know what I mean? Because I prefer the simplicity of a good shape. However, I am not always my target consumer. And some people like the way something looks when it's a little bit worn and torn. And some people grew up on VHSs watching old John Wayne movies and watching all these movies, right? And when they looked at those hats, they, in that moment, want to have that feeling like they are John Wayne.
Yeah.
And so if you can put some sweat stains around it and you make that thing look like John Wayne's hat, then you've done a good job and you've done a service to a person that's always wanted to look like John Wayne. You know what I mean? And that's the service that we provide. And so to kind of talk about, your thing with the Rip Wheeler is like, should they have thrown the dirt on it? Maybe. You know what I mean? Because like if somebody wants the Rip Wheeler hat, then essentially what you're saying is like, here's Rip Wheeler's hat day one, right? Good luck trying to be Rip Wheeler.
Right.
And so like, I think you can do it either way. But like arguably if it's a replica, right? And you want it to be, a perfect replica, then like, I'm just in the camp where I'm like, if it's going to be a perfect replica, try to replicate it as close as possible. But at the same time, I totally understand the concept of not, what do you got?
Was that Chester?
No, this is Bucky.
Bucky. Oh.
Yeah, we love Bucky's. Uh-oh. Jackson, gotta turn around, baby.
He's stuck.
Oh no, Jackson, come on. Turn around. There you go. Good boy. All right. What you got? That being said, I have absolutely no idea how anybody does business, right? You got it. Go, walk. Good boy.
He's trying to make it through around the lighting.
I have absolutely no idea how anybody does business, right? So like, I'm sure that particular Rip Wheeler hat, if you read the fine print of the description, it probably does not say that it comes beat to crap like Rip Wheeler's hat. It probably says, Rip Wheeler inspired hat, and arguably from a, construction standpoint, a majority of people, unless otherwise stated, probably do not appreciate people throwing dirt on their hats unless they asked for it. Right. And so there's like, there's like this double-edged sword, which is like, you ask for, I'll give you an example. We did an Arthur Morgan hat.
Okay.
Yes. Was it a mistake? Maybe, right? Because in my opinion, not only is it a video game, but arguably the hat could be made out of leather. And don't get at me, Red Dead Redemption people. I don't know. I haven't played the game since 2012, okay? I don't know what they made the hat out of because technically no one ever made the hat. It was a computer program. So like,
right.
I don't know what the hat's made out of, right? But perfect example is like, one time we said we took a pocket knife, heated up with a blowtorch, and we put bear claw scratches in it, right? Because there's bear claw scratches in the thing. Then 5 of those Arthur Morgans go out, and then one guy goes like, why'd you stab it all up with this pocket knife? So then we get insecure about the bear claw scratches. So then the next one that goes out, I don't put any scratches on. And the guy calls, he's like, there's no scratches, right? So I think the only solution here is just good communication. I think that's the only way around it. Because like some people might want dirt, some people might not want dirt, right? And I've had real cowboys, and people probably get all over about me on this one, but I've had real cowboys, like people who own farms, that own cattle, that drive cattle, ask me to slightly dust the hat up because they hate brand new shit.
That's funny because we did a podcast with Jerry Gazelle, who is a legendary horse trainer, and when he goes to buy a new hat, he'll take that hat and he'll put it in a box, and he'll take it home to use on his ranch because he doesn't want to be seen in a clean hat. He'll have to go home and work in that hat before he can be seen out in public in it.
And did he put the dirt on it himself? Yes.
Absolutely.
So the concept of me putting the dirt on it, my bad, However, I got good dirt, man. This is dirt from the Cheyenne Arena.
Cheyenne Arena, look at that.
Yeah.
All right.
So like, I got real cowboy dirt, man. Like, it's not like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not like, we're not going and grabbing Miracle Grow. You know what I mean? Like, I've got real cowboy dirt, man. Like straight from the Cheyenne Arena.
That's pretty cool. How did you get that?
A customer, actually.
Yeah.
So funny enough, customers send us dirt.
I want this dirt used on my hat.
Dude, we had Claire, is it Oklahoma has the red dirt?
It is, I'm pretty sure.
whatever state has the red dirt.
Georgia.
Yeah, but we got sent jars of red dirt, right? We used to do a lot of road trips before we got super busy. I've got yellowish sulfur dirt, smells horrible, but from Yellowstone.
Okay.
Collected it like in Yellowstone. It adds a yellowish hue.
Yeah.
And so like every dirt has a different, tonality to it.
Is that legal? Do we have to cut that out?
What?
To take dirt from Yellowstone?
Is it?
I don't know.
I think we'll be all right.
All right.
A little bit of dirt, right?
Yeah, all right.
It's just a little bit of dirt. I mean,
It came back on your shoes, right?
Yeah,
That's where you
got
collected
on
your
my shoes,
Yeah.
right? And then I scraped my shoe off
Yeah,
into
yeah,
a
yeah.
jar. You know what I mean? But like, do I understand the concept that if you are the type of person that lives a life where your hat is going to get dirty by just the lifestyle that you live? Do I think, and we say it to people all the time on calls, hey man, so you don't need any help getting this thing dirty. You'll get it plenty dirty on its own. And they always agree, right? However, I mean, what percentage of the population at this point is like actually cowboys? Like what percentage is actually
True.
farmers and everything? And so like now you're delving into the conversation of like, hats at one point were purely functional, and now hats are arguably making a comeback in what I would call the fashion space. And the lens has widened. So at one point, fashion was strictly fedora and function was strictly cowboy, unless you're from Texas or like you own a ranch or something, right? But now is like the fashion lens broadens and more people are diving more into these fashion campaigns. I mean, it's like Louis Vuitton did a cowboy campaign.
Yeah, they did.
They did, and Post Malone just launched his, his cowboy thing. Beyonce's got, it's endless the amount of cowboy stuff that you'll see. So it's at this point, it's almost undeniable that cowboy hats serve both fashion and function. And so then really what you have to ask is like, is it stolen valor to have dirt on a hat if you didn't put the dirt on the hat? And I think the only time that it would apply is if you are pretending that distressing got on that hat through the sweat of your brow, then at that point you are a fake individual. But if you just like the way it looks and you like a little bit of brown, if you take some light brown dirt and you kind of slightly rub it into a dark brown felt and you create almost a two-tone sort of effect and you get this ombre look where it goes dark, light, dark, that to me, at some point in time, that's less about the dirt and it's more about the design, the stylistic perspective. But again, I'll probably get flack for that. But I think dirt, in my opinion, is a natural pigment, and I don't think that there's any problem, in my opinion, if you want to have your hat have a look. You're talking about design. You're not talking about being fake. I think I'll put my foot down there. But I think if you are the type of person that gets things dirty, then do not have anybody distress your hat. Because at the end of the day, the natural wear and tear, and I'll show you a hat to make this point. This thing's old as hell and beat up. And it's got real sweat stains on it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I didn't fake those sweat stains, and arguably you cannot fake those sweat stains. That coloration only comes from sweat. Now you can try to take like RIT dye, mix it with salt water and soak the hat and do all these different mumbo jumbos, but arguably to get that particular color on a hat, it only comes from sweat over a long enough period of time.
Right.
People always ask us for a bullet hole in the hat. This little bullet hole in this hat, I almost shot myself.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
I was shooting back when we used to put playing cards in hats before it became kind of like what I would argue like the trademark of a hat bar.
Yeah.
Plating cards, fabric, feathers, all that kind of stuff. It's the starter kit, right? If you go in and you get your first hat from a hat bar, you throw an ace of fucking spades in it, you throw a queen of hearts, one of those two cards. We buy a 52 card deck and the only card we ever use is the ace of spades. A lot of originality out there, man. And so I was taking a gun, obviously, and I can say gun, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool. And I was way too close, probably about this far away, and I had the cards sitting on a hillside, and I didn't realize that there was a big piece of rock in the hillside,
okay.
and I shot the card, and it hit the rock, and all of a sudden I just feel, zoop.
Oh. Really?
Yeah.
So that actually came back as you were wearing
Yeah,
the
almost
hat.
took my damn head off, and we wouldn't be sitting here if it was just a little bit farther over.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hope you were wearing the trademark sunglasses. At least.
Yeah, right. Actually, it was. Yeah. But I think, also, if you ever seen an old Western movie, if you get shot in your hat doesn't fly off.
It didn't come off.
For the record, the hat doesn't go anywhere.
Well, I see the. Actually, I wanted to ask you real quick. I want to talk about the nail, but we were talking about Post. Has Posty called you about making a hat for him? Because he's doing stuff with Stetson, and now he's just posting stuff with American Hat. I feel like you're more on brand for him.
Yeah. So his guitar player Justin is a good friend of ours from Nashville, and we've made him a bunch of hats. So like you'll see on stage, there is a hat with a gold nail on it on stage with Post Malone. Have we made Post Malone a hat? No. Are we down to make you a hat? For sure, brother. Give us a holler. You know what I mean? Like he's a really cool dude.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody has made a more seamless, authentic transition from genre to genre than him, and done it in a more respectful way.
Right. He's Texan anyway. I think
it just makes sense.
Right. And after you make him a hat, you are more than welcome to come on our podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
So let's talk about the gold nail real quick, because now I want to know.
Polarizing is yeah.
Well, I want to know where you get all these nails that are made out of gold.
Can't tell you that.
And
technically, it's just it's actually just plated.
brass tack.
Yeah.
Oh, it's plated.
Yeah. So it's not like a solid gold nail. That would cost us a mint. The hat prices would have to go way up.
Way up.
Yeah. Like if I started wearing regular shirts instead of beaters and we used real gold nails, we'd be out of business.
Yeah. I want to talk about the beaters too. But have you had anybody say, "Don't put that nail in my hat"? And
all the time.
You do it?
No. We don't put the nail in the hat if someone doesn't want the nail in the hat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was a question we've heard. Man, why is that guy ruining those hats? With the nails. But so it's your trademark, it's your maker's mark. But if you don't want it, you don't have to get it.
We usually talk. All right. So, really interesting question. So at one point in time when we were smaller, right, we didn't used to get that question. It wasn't until I started spiking the ice pick, putting the gold nail in, and adding it as a closer to the thing, like to the videos, that people ever even began to question the nail at all. So most people actually received their hat, and a lot of people, and again, it was in photos and everything, no one ever said anything about the nail. So if they didn't like the nail, then they didn't vocalize it, but most of our customers are repeat customers, and a lot of people, and I will say, 9 out of 10 people that we're on a video call or we're in the store, 9 out of 10 people say, "So you're gonna put that nail in it?" Like people wait for the nail, because to me the nail was meant as a way to unite people.
Okay.
It was not meant as a way to divide people. And so what happened at some point is that people became divided on this concept of the nail ruining the hat. And that was never my intention. The concept of the nail is that if you know us and we know you, and you see somebody else that has a wild hat, you can take a basic assumption that you probably share similar values, and at some point in time you've done business with us, which means that, like, arguably, because we vet people pretty hard, you know what I mean? You're probably a pretty cool kind of guy, you know? And the nail has opened so many doors for people. They see each other in an airport and they're like, "Hey, is that a wild hat? I see the gold nail." Or two people with hats see the gold nails, and all of a sudden they're fast friends. And it's like, hundreds of stories of people spotting the nail and having it open up a conversation, right? So do I think that the trademark can be slightly polarizing to the concept of poking a hole in a hat? Yes. Should I have found a better way to do it? Yes. Am I here now? Yes. Right? Do I think that if the hat gets soaking wet, water is going to leak through it? No. I mean,
No.
It's not like the water's just going to pour through. Like, if you're standing out in the rain and your hat is soaking wet, you are already wet. So, like, what are you concerned about? The small, like, it's not going to, like, leak through.
That wouldn't have even been my concern.
But that's what we get. Is like
Really?
People are like, "Hey, I spend a lot of time outdoors. I'm getting this hat. This is my work hat, or this is my this. I'm concerned that the nail is going to leak water." That's like a thing.
Okay.
And then the other concept is just like, I don't want any holes in my hat.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, that would be my thing.
I get it. I understand. Like, I get it. Like, I get it. But at the end of the day, if somebody comes to us and they literally say, hey, I want to get a hat from you, can you put the nail in the band? Like, I'm not going to die on that hill. Life is arguably like we're good. We live in like a constant state of like panic. It seems.
Yeah.
It's completely self-induced. Like there's obviously urgent things and everything, but like and again, this isn't like something that has to be on camera, but like we're incredibly customer service focused, and it's like that to me is our big differentiator. And so like what that turns is that everything, even if it's not like, for example, I just walked over there to Clara and she's got 4 sticky notes. And like if I was to read all those sticky notes, right, like arguably she has fucking 6 sticky notes, whatever, right? But like arguably like in the grand scheme of things, like to the average person that runs a business, like the sticky notes are nothing. But we address like the smallest anthill like it's a mountain. Because it's like if you go above and beyond for people and you provide an exceptional service, that's why they come back. You know what I mean? Like that's like, and so that's kind of like that's the name we've literally built for ourselves, is just like this, like you call, we answer, you have a problem, we fucking solve it, you have this, we do that, you know? And so what ends up happening is like everything constantly feels like it's in a slight state of panic, but the reality is that everything's actually okay if you were to hold yourself to the standard of like normal customer service.
Can we leave that in?
If you want, yeah.
Because I have a follow-up question to that. What is that?
Are these cameras rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
So, personally, I'm under a tremendous amount of stress. We travel all the time. We're trying to find new guests. We're trying to make interesting content for our viewers. What does that level of kind of stress do to you personally? Can you leave any of this when you go home, or
Absolutely
are
not.
you're always, because I'm always on,
Yeah.
right? I work, I don't know how many hours a day?
37 hours.
37 hours a day.
Yeah.
So it's, even if we're on vacation, I'm like, this is content. We could, we could share this, right?
Yeah.
So what does that do to your
love
stress
it,
level?
man.
Yeah.
I personally think, this is just me personally, I think I'm built for war. Like I like it. Like I train Muay Thai, Henry does boxing, it's like.
Henry's the dog?
No, yeah, right. The fucking 15th name for the dog.
I'm only kidding because it's inside joke. Sorry, I'll tell you guys later.
Yeah. But it's, I personally like the stress.
Yeah.
I think it feels good. I know it's like kind of like a sick way to put
Yeah.
it, but like I like the conflict. I like the war. I like the problems. Like I like when things go. There's a Jocko Willink quote. I don't know if anybody listens to Jocko Willink, but there's this Jocko Willink quote from when he was running all these like operations divisions for the Navy, and when things would go bad, he would just say "good," And it's like I kind of, in a lot of ways, feel that way. I don't want bad things to happen, but when they do happen, solving them, in my opinion, makes you stronger. And then on top of that, you know how to solve it in the future. So the quicker you figure out how to solve every single conflict, the quicker you can create systems operations to solve them quicker. And so like the quicker everything goes to shit, the quicker you can fix it. And so like if your house slowly breaks, like let's just say the beams of your house slowly break over a 20-year period, right? That's an issue, right? But if one beam breaks and then all of a sudden a person comes out to inspect that beam and they go, well, the other 3 are going to go, and then you fix it early, how much cheaper is that repair, And so
True.
that's kind of, I like when things break because it gives me the opportunity to fix them. I like being stressed because stress gives me purpose. I like the concept. I like the concept of being busy, and it's caused for me personally. And this is just, I guess, to get personal. Like a lot of until my most recent girlfriend, like a lot of my relationships have squashed because I work too much and I'm so involved in work. And there's this quote I love, which is like, being poor is hard, getting rich is hard, choose your hard. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And everything is objectively hard to the person who's going through it. And I just personally, I say this in a lot of our videos and a lot of our content, I think a lot of people, up until recently, because it seems like a lot of people are starting to grasp the fragility of life, but I think a lot of people are they really don't focus on today being the potential last day of their life. You know what I mean? We're planning for vacations we may never take. We're planning for time off we might never use. You know what I mean? We're saying goodbye to people like we might see them again. We're doing all of these different things. And like I've got this tattooed on my wrist, be here now. And I'm like a firm believer of like, this moment is the only moment that's ever existed. You know what I mean? Like, and once you walk out of here in an hour and you move on with your life, like this podcast is over. Like,
right. Can
I watch it on the internet? Is the internet forever? Sure, but it's not going to be this conversation. It's going to be some clipped up, chopped up version that makes us both look amazing. You know what I mean? But it's like in this moment, though, this is a moment, right? Like a real moment. And stress to me, to go back to your original point, stress to me hyper fixates me on the moment. And so like, when you get that stress, it's like if you're driving a car too fast and the back wheels start to slip, you know, or it's like you're going on a motorcycle and you corner too quick and you know what I mean, the back end skids out a little bit. Or I could give a billion different references for that moment where you're like locked in and you're just floating. And in my opinion, I don't think you get that floating feeling unless you're slightly stressed.
So this is kind of a new insight for people. They usually know you from a 60-second to 90-second clip on the internet. What do you think your customers who haven't had a chance to have that call with you, what do they think they should know about you?
About me?
Yeah.
I love my dog Jackson.
I thought it was Henry.
Yeah, yeah.
Frankie?
Yeah, Frankie, Johnny.
Story, please, 'cause
Well, Anna has called this dog every name except for his true name.
Yeah.
She refuses.
Why won't Frankie get off the couch? It's like, because his name's Jackson. Yeah. I'm not sure there's anything that I could say about me that arguably matters to anybody and will change their life. But as far as things that I'm interested in and values and things that I stand for, I guess, which to me would be like the content of my character versus like, you know, the superficial stuff, which is like I like fast cars and watches and like nice suits and like, yeah, I like velvet shoes, like sue me, you know, and I like sunglasses. But that's all materialistic stuff. Like as far as like morals, character, and value, I believe in hard work. I believe in taking care of my people. I strongly believe in taking care of my people. And one of the things that has brought me the most joy from this internet thing and from hats and from everything is seeing every person that's around me doing better than when they got here. And that to me is, unless you're a business owner or you're a family person and you provide for people, that level of just being like, look at this awesome thing that we've built and look at how it helps everyone around us. And I think that's a beautiful feeling. But with that comes this level of essentially protection. And I think in terms of like opening myself up on camera and everything like that, my personal beliefs and my ideologies and all that kind of stuff are not reflective of the art and everything we do. So what I will say is that I care for everybody around me. I love all of our customers. Our goal is to make people feel like a better version or a freer version of themselves through our art or through our hats. And I believe in hard work, and I definitely believe in the American dream. But that's, you know, as far as who I am personally, everyone is welcome to come and get to know me personally. But, you know, as far as, you know, what's behind the lenses, you know, it's that's what I believe in. And I think that in terms of doing business with us and taking the next step to get to know us, which in the process of doing business with us, you will get to know us. To me, I think that's what counts. To me, that's the barrier to entry as far as why you should do business with us. That's the content of our character, and that's what we believe in.
Let's talk about your people, because let's talk about how you started first, because you started, it was just you, and was it you and Joe, or who was it? Because, and how did you come to collect these group of employees that you currently have?
I'll save Ulysses' story for the end because it's my favorite story.
All right.
Joe and I met through the coffee and everything in the Mezcal brand. I knew Julian and Henry. Henry's my sales guy, right? And also, part-time hat maker. And Julian, part-time hat maker, and he does all the content. So all the videos you love and everything, Julian did that, right? And
Did you hire him because he knows video?
no. So funny enough, when we opened this shop up, which is a whole other crazy story, about a year or so into opening the shop, I was doing essentially everything and Joe was doing the art, right? And I knew I had to take a step back to step out of the production slightly to try to figure out how to get my head above water enough to figure out how to scale the business because it wasn't going anywhere. And so I called Julian. Julian's in New York. And I said to Julian, like, hey, would you ever move to Kentucky? I could use you. I don't know what for yet, but I can use you. And you can help me out with production and all this, and we'll do something. And so he takes the plunge, moves here from New York with his fiancee, Courtney, and he immediately jumps in and he starts doing production. That small little bump in him taking some of the workload off allowed me to take a step back and then notice that, like, okay, we have to dive a little bit deeper into like the concept of social media and everything, and we have to do, like, it opened my lens slightly because I wasn't stuck behind a sander. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
like I got my first breath of freedom, right? Then enters Ulysses. Ulysses is my favorite story because there's a group here in Louisville called the Man Challenge, and it's run at the Southeast Christian Church. And essentially, it's a group of men that meet together at 6 a.m. They go through some Bible verses, and then at the end, the prominent men, we sit at a table, and everyone talks about their problems, and people try to figure out how to help each other. And so at the end of one of these meetings, everyone looks at me. I don't believe in bitching about my problems. I don't think it helps. I just don't. I think, like, when you speak your problems into existence, you just make them worse. So I was like, I am not going to sit in this massive room of people and air out my grievances. And they were like, come on, man, come on, say something. And I was like, all right, well, I need good hands. We all held hands and we prayed. And it was like, pray that Chandler finds the help that he needs. Well, that fucking day, Ulysses walks into my shop. Hat maker with 14 years of hat making experience. And he was working at a hat shop around the corner.
Okay.
But it was a ladies' hat shop. And I thought he was trying to buy a hat. And I was like, oh, you want to buy a hat? And, talking to him the whole sale. I didn't exactly say it like that. And he was like, oh, I make hats. And I was like, well, you want a job? And then the second he came in here, no offense, Julian, love you, ran circles on Julian as far as production goes. Like, just completely changed the game as far as, like, what the metric was to be expected in terms of, like, what a human being could get done.
Right.
Now, granted, did I have the proper incentive set up in place so that it was like, you wanted to do as much work as humanly possible? Abso-fucking-lutely, right? But he bangs all of that stuff out. And it became clear that you didn't need two people doing the job because Ulysses was two people. And so now I have this Julian who I love dearly, And so I've been sober for almost 3 years now, and I got this like text from Julian, and it was like this really long emotional text, and it was essentially like, hey, Bubby, like, this is what's going on in life and everything like that, and like, I can't afford to feed myself. Did I make a mistake by coming here? And so I did like this long inward look, and I realized I'm failing everyone around me, and I'm choosing essentially, call it hedonism, but it's just drinking. I mean, everyone drinks, but like at the core root of it all, it's like if you go out and party all the time and people around you are suffering because of it, it's like it's not a good way to live life.
Right. It's a problem, right?
Yeah. And so I did a big inward look, and I decided I was going to get sober. And when I got sober and I had some mental clarity, let's call it, I had this thought, from watching some podcasts and everything, the importance of running a brand. And I said to Julian, I was like, dude, I know we post some content, but I was like, shake my hand. I'm going to pay you money that I can't afford to pay right now. So I essentially, there was a long period of time where I didn't pay myself at all. And I gave all the money to Ulysses and Julian, essentially, because we were doing okay. But like, to have 4 or 5 people in a shop, if anyone knows anything about a business, you have to be doing slightly substantial just to have payroll.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, that's the first hump of life is payroll.
And I'll tell you what, with 3 people, you need about $15,000 a month, right? And that's minimum.
Don't even get me started. Yeah.
So I mean, in order to do this, whether it's making hats or whatever it is, making videos, you have to make money in order to keep doing it.
So I took an educated guess and a gamble that if we posted consistently on social media, rain, sunshine, 7 days a week from now till eternity, I said the odds that we don't succeed are small.
Well, we just watched a video last night. Let Anna put it on, and it was just this guy with a GoPro going around and showing a city or something. And we also did a video recently where she was getting B-roll of a studio for a podcast we were doing, and we were there for like 5 hours just talking to this guy. And so we wound up making a video out of that just on the GoPro, and it did really well, and people liked it. So, potentially it would be something where we could do one camera instead of three.
So let's say you're doing a podcast, right? Essentially it's just like pay-per-view, right? Is that like how, like?
No, I mean,
or is it sponsorships, or like, I guess I don't know much. Now I feel like I'm interviewing you.
No, it's fine. Basically we would put this out there and people watch it, and YouTube pays us because they watch it, right? So there's the whole advertising aspect to it, right?
Dude, but if you had, all right, so let's say you have your audience, right? And let's say, you have hats or something, right? Just wait quick. And arguably with your audience, right? Like, because for me, it's like if we post a video, we sell hats. And so like I don't have any of our pages monetized.
Right.
Which sounds ridiculous.
That is,
we do like 20 million video views every 30 days.
I wouldn't have to work, if I
don't
had
even know
20
how to
million.
set that up. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, arguably I should look into that. But my whole thought is like once you monetize everything, then at that point you have to play by a different set of rules, and then you also are held to a higher standard versus entertainment-based content.
Right.
And so what I don't want to risk our channel based on my unfiltered nature, and then all of a sudden we lose a massive acquisition channel when the acquisition channel is arguably doing fine, doing what it does, which is selling hats.
So I think they would probably pull your channel for the same reasons whether you were monetized or not.
Really?
Right? So you're just missing out on probably $10,000 a month on TikTok
crazy.
alone.
Really?
Yeah. I think
That's crazy. I never even thought about it.
Can I get commission on that if you monetize?
Sure. yeah, there you go. You get it set up, man. Pay your kicker.
There you go.
Yeah.
All you got to do is click the button, man. You'd be monetized today, and probably on all your back stuff too.
No way.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done hundreds of millions of TikTok views.
Yeah, you're probably $10,000 a month.
So like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe to help us.
It's funny enough, on our content, we don't do any call to actions.
I hate it.
I don't like follow, subscribe. I hate the concept of like saying like, and if you want to buy this hat costs $750, and I hate the concept of people being like, how much and all this stuff, because it's like, to me that like you're taking away from what could be like an awesome personal experience, and you're just trying to quantify it into a dollar value. And most people, if you're not familiar with hats, we get all the time like, oh, that hat is so expensive. And I don't know when the hell this happened, but at some point in time, probably in the last like couple years, it seems like everybody is like projecting this concept of being poor on the internet, and I don't really know. I want a Porsche GT3 RS, olive green, the Weissach package, beautiful car, right? I want it, right? I'm not saying like I'm going to get it. I want it. It has never occurred to me to go on Porsche's Instagram and say, this Porsche GT3 is too fucking expensive. Like at no point in time have I ever thought to go chirp them for their prices.
You're right.
I've never even thought of that. But like every day we get something where someone's like, $550 for a hat, that's so expensive. And it's like, is it? Like, is it though? Like, because people say all the time, we have 100% beaver hats on our website. Some of them are $1,000, right? You can't even get a Stetson for $1,000.
Right.
So you're telling me that a fully custom hat that's cheaper than a, essentially pre-made hat, you're telling me that's somehow not worth that. So to me, it's like, it's not even reflective of the price as much as just an ignorance around the quality and composition of hats in general, which to me is actually an amazing metric to the fact that all of the people that are watching our content don't know anything about hats,
Yeah.
which means that actually we're bridging into an entirely new market of people that don't know shit about hats, which is actually a really cool metric. So like as soon as someone like talks shit about price, I actually know that the video is going to people that aren't hat specific. And so it's a really good metric to be like, oh, got it, this is like doing well.
I think a lot of this goes, oh man, it goes so deep. We could get real deep into this because I think a lot of people look at the increase in price since COVID and say, well, if it was this price before COVID, why is it this price now? You're just trying to make more money. Mm-hmm. And also they're not comparing apples to apples. You have a company over here who is making a hat that they call a certain quality, and it's really not. And then you have a guy over here who's doing the X for X, and we talked about this off camera about X factors, and we're not going to get deep into that.
Yeah.
But it's not apples to apples. It's a and we're not gonna go in deep on this. We've done it before.
Yeah, I mean, and arguably I wouldn't even be the one to go into it, but I will say that like at some point in time, I do believe that handcrafted deserves premium.
Yes.
I believe my time is worth some sort of value.
Yeah.
And then I also believe that like artistry is worth something, otherwise a painting would be worthless. Right? So like you kind of made the comparison to art, right? So like does art have a premium, right? And so like arguably if like over a long enough period of time, if we were to increase prices, even if the supply chain didn't technically increase prices from an inflationary standpoint, arguably over time, if something would be considered art, then you would be justified to increase the prices just based on the premium of the art and the selectiveness. Like that would be my opinion. So, you know, when I see all these prices increase, the only thing that it sticks out to me is that like every single person is beginning to value what their time is worth more fairly, and they're putting their foot down and choosing to value their time on what their time is worth, because at the end of the day, the time is the only commodity that you own personally. Everything else is in a bank. You know what I mean? Like your time is your currency.
Right.
And I think at some point in time, people in the hat making industry specifically are tired of having their hands bleed and and all of this crazy stuff and going home with dirty fingernails and bloody fingers and callus and all this and pulling this and then saying like, okay, hey, my margin on this hat was X, and then you do the timeout and you say like, this is minimum wage. And so at some point in time, everyone said like artistry is worth a premium, handcraft is worth a premium. If you're not willing to pay that premium, there are plenty of people out there that you can get it for cheaper, but you get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like if you want a $200 hat, you know what I mean? But don't expect a $1,000 service for a $200 price.
We talked a little bit earlier about your whiskey drinking hat, and you kind of also alluded to the fact that some of your customers.
Can I pop his in on camera?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
Nobody would even see it. We could have cut.
Sorry, Mom.
But you alluded to the fact that some of your customers are coming into hats late in life. Mm-hmm. We've seen where people are kind of scared to wear hats, but they want a hat, right? So they'll kind of go home after work and they'll put the hat on and they'll wear it in the house, but they're kind of scared to wear it outside of the house. So you see that? Do you hear that?
No, I don't, because I this is more psychology than I think. This is more psychology than it is craft at this point, and so call it. I think men specifically deal with a lot of problems that nobody addresses because no one gives a about our feelings. Arguably like 70% of men are colorblind. How often do you hear a man say he's colorblind? He has no idea, and if anybody did know, they wouldn't care.
Right.
You know what I mean? But like if somebody else is, and again, it's, so men specifically are a very underserviced industry. Women can get bespoke this, tailored that, this, that, you know what I mean? The outfits are more eccentric, and what we're served up is like, here's the blue jeans, here's the black jeans, here's this button up, here's that button up. And unless you're over the top, there's not really a lot of customization, in my opinion, to like the male specific demographic.
Sure. I mean, we've talked about this before, what accessory does men have? A couple of rings, maybe a bracelet and a watch.
But I mean,
You know?
a couple of rings, like, besides like the beautiful ring you have on your finger, arguably most men that come in here are wearing no rings,
Yeah.
besides a wedding ring. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, watches are one of those things where it's like every man wants a watch, but like, sometimes the watch you want you can't afford, right? And so it's like maybe you never wear a watch, right? So I would say from an accessory standpoint, men don't really get to accessorize it as much, and oftentimes men can't talk to men without feeling like the conversation feels too feminine about fashion specifically. And so what we've been able to do a really good job of, in my opinion, is like, and maybe it's just like my unfiltered nature, but like there's in my opinion, a right way and a wrong way to tell somebody that someone looks good without being like, oh, you look so sexy. Like it's not like the right way to go about it, right? And I'm not gonna be like, you look handsome. Like it's not like that. But it's like, arguably, if you think that I'm cool, right? Which that's totally subjective. But if you think I look cool and I can make a thing, and I promise you that I can deliver the same result to you, and I uphold that end of the promise, then if you look stupid, I look stupid, because by extension, you are me, which means I have all the incentive in the world to create a group of people unified under my brand name that all look cool. Otherwise, that one person that doesn't look cool makes me look uncool. And so, you talked about the whiskey drinking hat and all these different hats. A lot of these hats have a mood to them, right? Like we did an outdoorsman style hat, a hunting style hat, all of these different hats. And so from a store-bought perspective, unless you're getting like an Akubra or something, there's not really a lot of what I would consider good hunting hats, right? And if you're getting a dress style fedora, I mean, there's a ton of amazing hat makers making amazing fedoras, but like, if you are the average consumer, like you're going to get a monochromatic hat, probably doesn't even have a pencil curl in it. The crown is the way it is. It might be stamped, whatever it is. And it's like, adjusting the crown height, adjusting the dimples, adjusting the width on the front, adjusting the lift on the brim based on your ears, adjusting the pull down in the front based on how high your brow is, so that if it sits right here and you want pull down, you don't want the pull down sitting right here. You want it a little bit deeper so that it covers slight on the eyes. If your ears stick out a little bit like both you and I both do, we don't look good in a flat hat. So like you mentioned that you want a fedora, I would personally suggest a flanged brim on you. Because if your ears stick out slightly and the brim sits on your ears, it looks like a shelf.
Right.
You know what I mean? A wider front with a smaller chin, right? There's like all of these different things that like no one thinks to look for. And so there's like, in my opinion, there is the, hey Clara, they're sponsored by Black Rifle, so I can have that. Cool.
There you go. Check out the link below for Black Rifle.
Black Rifle, America. So there's, in my opinion, there's the craft and then there's the eye. And so one of the biggest things that we've been dealing with from a scalability perspective is that, and you kind of you alluded to it when we were shaping hats together the other day, is that you create a system that can be replicated.
Yes.
But how do you replicate your eye?
Right.
And so you can teach somebody how to do 10 different shapes and 10 different brim styles and how to mix and match them. But when you look at somebody dead in the eyes, right, and you personally are not honest with that person, number one, and you're also not blunt enough to say how you really feel, objectively speaking, some people could get a hat that does not look good on them, even though it's exactly what they asked for, because no one had the balls to stand up and say, you look fucking stupid. Yes. You know what I mean?
I agree, 100%. So that actually brings me to another question. Do you get pictures of your clients? Or
all the time.
So
we have, like Clara has hundreds of photos from every single customer.
Yeah.
And why do we not put them more on the internet?
No, not like that. I'm asking, when you are suggesting or when you're looking for the perfect hat for them, the perfect shape for them, do you get pictures in advance, or how do you do
the way
what
the
is your
entire process works for us is like, because we do such a wide amount of content and because we've done this style of doing it for a long enough period of time, the two things that we like to figure out day one is the color and the quality of the material. Mm-hmm. Because those never change. Yeah. Unless I do a video where I'm standing in the rain or something and then 10 people call Clara and they're like, oh, I saw that video of Chandler and I think I need to do 100%. And then they fuck our day up. But that's a totally different thing. But if you focus on the color and you focus on the quality of the material, Then what you do is you essentially invite people to take notes of all of their favorite things. It doesn't have to be something we've made. It could be anything, right? Now, will I ever copy another hat maker's design? Absolutely fucking not. If somebody sends me and says, will you recreate this hat, and it's some other hat maker, I literally say point blank, why don't you just reach out to them and have them make it, because clearly they can do it, right? Like, I don't need the money like that. That's blood money. It's dirty. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not into the concept of copying people, and I don't want any bad will with anybody in the industry, right? But what I like, if somebody sends me a photo of, Burt Reynolds, and then they send me a photo of John Wayne, and then they send me, some photo they found on the internet, and they put all these things together. Then essentially we review all that information ahead of time. And then the first thing that we do is we just open the conversation up, open the dialect up, almost like we're doing a podcast or an interview with them, and we just walk through all of their different ideas. And when we settle on a commonplace identity as far as like what is the vibe they're trying to go, then we start making the hat. And we go step by step. We start off with the crown, make sure the crown's high enough, lower it, and using all the specs on, do they want it tall, short, how wide is their forehead, what does their nose look like? And a lot of that stuff I do silently without picking them apart, because people are fragile. And so you don't want to sit there and just say, like, you have a bigger nose, so we have to do this. But you do it silently, and then it ends up working out in the end.
Right.
And then the most important thing, in my opinion, from a hat making perspective is this a fashion statement or a usability statement? And if you're planning on using this for something specifically, what is that? Where do you see yourself wearing this hat? And then from there, it's like, I mean, if you're a creative person, then you just have to imagine, like, here is Tom. Tom's getting this hat from me, and Tom wants to wear this hat here. And you're looking at Tom, and you just picture to yourself, like, how is Tom going to look best in this hat? And one of the issues that we've run into is I don't think that level of imagination is teachable. I think you either have it or you don't, And so that's kind of like a thing that we've run into is, like, you can teach somebody how to square a brim off. You can teach a cattleman a mimic. You can teach an RCA. You can teach the shape. But it's like, can you teach how to make Tom look good in an RCA while he's at his local rodeo?
So I have a question. So we want to talk about the beater too. That's on the list next. Have you ever done a mimic crown or any of the newer crowns like the CHL or something like that?
This is the moment where, string me up. I don't know what any of that means.
Okay, no, that's fine.
We're like
we can cut that out.
No, I mean, I don't care. I know what a cattleman is. I've seen photos of a mimic, but when we make hats, we're making hats, in my opinion. Ulysses, I don't know if you can corroborate this, but like, we've got a basic idea of the shapes, but like, everything in our opinion is moldable and adjustable to the person. So like, if I say I'm going to do a cattleman's crease, right, I'm not going to do the same prepackaged cattleman every single time with a ruler or a measuring tape.
Right.
It's going to be a little higher, a little bit lower. The indents are going to be a little bit deeper. Maybe there's a mule kick, maybe there's not. Maybe the mule kick's pointed. It's completely interchangeable. So the concept of just saying, like, this is the shape, take it or leave it, is not, in my opinion, reflective of how we do business. Okay. Because I do not think there's a one-size-fits-all solution for all people, because if that was the case, then objectively the open road is a perfect, what I would call wanderer-style hat. That motherfucker does not fit on anybody's head.
No one's head.
It
looks horrible too.
Objectively, when you look at that thing in a box,
yeah,
it's perfect. The lifted
great.
brim, the perfect thing, and then someone puts it on and the thing's just propped on top of their head. And so, like, if there was a one-size-fits-all solution,
and there's always room on the sides, right? So
yeah, if there was a one-size-fits-all solution for hats, and you could just say, like, this is now if you work as a hat shaper, is it helpful just to know the specific measurements of the things that you can kick things out when there's a line of 20 people? Absolutely. Yeah. But from a custom hat perspective, if somebody says that they want a mimic, right, then like, do I know what that looks like from a basic perspective? Yes. Will I adjust that mimic to make it mimic? Yeah, mimic. That's the name?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Would I adjust that mimic to be slimmer, taller, wider, up and down? Does that maybe turn it into a Canadian crease if it's too wide? Is it a brick top if it's, yeah? So it's like there's all these different names and everything, but at the end of the day, it's like, to me, the most important part of hat making is like, how do you look? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like a spec sheet where you say like it's, a hat is 4 1/4, 6 flat, lifted side. You know what I mean? There's not this one size fits all solution. So do I know all the names and everything? I've got a basic rundown if somebody says that's what they want.
But that's not your wheelhouse, right?
It's
That's not what you're doing.
No, we're definitely attempting to the best of our ability to take what you say, pass it through our filter, and then turn it into something that actually looks good on you. And that, to me, if you don't take some sort of objective eye to it, then all you're really doing is just saying like, because you like this thing that you saw on this particular person that it happened to look good on, you think it's going to look good on you. And then here's what happens. It doesn't fucking look good. And then what happens? The hat sits, right? And then when the hat sits, the person says, I'm not a hat person, which is false. There's no people that aren't hat people. There's just people that haven't found the right hat. What do you got? I got Carl?
You're telling this.
Yeah.
Bucky was in here, now it's Carl.
Yeah, but like, people say all the time, like they're not hat people. And it's like, are you not a hat person? Or how many hats have you tried?
I'll tell you, we see this all the time with people who want to get into hats or are buying their first hat. They don't know what style brim they want, right? So they'll want to go short right off the bat.
Every time.
Every time, because they're used to a
Short
cap,
crown,
right?
short brim.
Yes.
Tall guys always go like, oh, the hat can't be too tall because then I'll be too tall. And it's like, motherfucker, you were the tallest guy in the room before. You're still the tallest guy in the room. Nothing
Right.
changed. You know what I mean? You're still the big dude.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to be Hoss from Bonanza. It's like a dude saying that like he doesn't want to go to the gym because he doesn't want to be too big. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be Hoss, brother. You know what I mean? You got to
Right.
move on from the Hoss thing. Anyways.
No, but so brim styles are going to change, right? If they get this brim, it might not be the one that they like, and that's going to change over time. They may go through 4 or 5 different brim shapes in that first year. Also, yeah, I lost where I was going to go with that.
Well, I mean, I'll pick up on exactly
Yeah.
what you just said. So when they picked out the first brim style, did anybody tell them that it looked good on them, or did they see somebody else that it looked good on, and everyone just said yes?
Exactly.
Like, is the industry full in? See, I hate that I said the industry. Everyone's great. I love you. But arguably is the easier thing to do in this industry to be the yes man? Is it harder to tell somebody that they're going to look stupid? Yes. It fucking sucks. When somebody comes to you and they say, this is the thing that I want, and you look at them and you go like, in my humble opinion, I don't think this is the best look for you. And then in their mind, they're trying to fit this image, but the image doesn't fit that person. Is that a tough conversation to have? Do we lose business because of it? Yes, because people want these certain things. And I say, like, in my opinion, and if they agree with us, they agree with us. But, if you go in to get a hat and you have an idea for what you want, and nobody has the eye to be able to tell you that might not look good on you. And in some cases, they don't know that it doesn't look good because they don't have the eye, right? And so what happens is people get these hats and they are left to their own devices and they pick these hats up and then they end up changing it 10 different times until they find the one that does, right?
Right.
What we do here is when someone's in the store specifically, they'll put the hat on, and then we always tell them to walk to the mirror. We have a mirror at the top of the stairs. You can't see it, it's off camera. But that walk to the mirror and that like little isolation with the hallway, if someone's standing in that hallway for more than a minute, the hat's fucked up. If they walk to that mirror and they come right back, money.
Yeah.
If they stand in that mirror for more than 30 seconds even, 30 seconds to a minute, something's fucked up. And every time they come walking back, and all we say usually is like, so what's wrong with it? Because they spent too much time looking at themselves. But there's this moment, which you described as like 4 different brim styles in a year. There's this moment when you find the perfect style.
Yes.
Boom. You just look at it, right? And so the speed in which you get people to that moment is, in my opinion, the skill of the designer. And so if it takes 4 iterations, how quick can you rotate through those 4 iterations? If the 4 iterations take a year, that's too long. You have to rotate through those 4 iterations before they walk out the door.
Do you consider yourself a designer?
I would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially that's what it is. I mean, some of my greatest idols, Ralph Lauren, Tom Ford, and all these people. Like,
Love Tom Ford.
Yeah, but look at what Tom Ford was able to do with suits.
Yeah.
And the way he was able to cut suits in a specific way that like wasn't the way that everyone thought, and everyone was like, "Oh, Tom Ford's ruining fashion." I mean, Tom Ford was running Gucci campaigns that were so provocative they were banned in countries, right? But now he's a famous designer. Ralph Lauren. If you look at Ralph Lauren, he's gotten shit his entire life around the concept of Polo Ralph Lauren is like towards rich people, and the Native American stuff is cultural appropriation and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like the designs have still stood the test of time, because at the end of the day, he was just following his passion for design to create something unique and one of a kind. And I don't think anything he was intending to do was meant to harm anybody. He was just like, this is my vision, this is what I think people will look good in, and boom. And I would argue if Ralph Lauren was to design things that were one of one for people, that concept of what he would create would be second to none, because he has to essentially mass produce these things and hope they fit everybody.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so that's what you see essentially with a Boot Barn or anything like that.
Well, that's what happens when you get big, right?
Yeah.
Everybody wants your stuff, and you have to produce it for the masses, because you can't do that one-of-one for everybody and still scale up.
Yeah, and now we're right back to the same conversation in the beginning, is like how many people can you service providing that service before you can no longer provide the best service?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that seems to be, to me, a metric we're constantly viewing, is like, if our goal is to fire people through those rapid rounds until they find that perfect thing, like at what point in time can you no longer provide that service? And the moment you can no longer provide the service, then at that point, then you have to look into new avenues or, increase prices. I have no idea.
Let's talk about the beater, because it's you kind of wear that. You're wearing a beater in a lot of your videos. You're wearing it now. As a matter of fact, I said, "Are you gonna wear the beater? Or are you gonna put a coat on?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna put a coat on." So,
why a beater?
Yes, and you told me why off camera. So, can you tell everybody why?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. People seem so fascinated by the beater. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's cheap, and I ruin a shirt every single day.
Every day.
Like every single day, I ruin a shirt. When I go home, the beater is ruined.
Yeah.
And the different dirts, smudges, burn marks. I mean, if anyone's never blocked a black felt, you know what I mean? Like, feel free to DM me and I'll shoot you a picture of what your hands look like after you hand block a black felt. Especially a felt if it's got a little bit of runny dye in it, which 1 out of every 50 is going to have a little bit of runny dye. Your hands are completely black, right? So like, if you're leaning over this thing and you're pulling 100% beaver felt, right, and you don't have a finger puller and you're stretching this thing out, you're leaning against the felt, the shirt's black. And so, like, I had a lot of very nice, expensive H-bar C, pearl snap button downs, all these different things, and I just got sick and tired of having beautiful clothes get ruined, to the point where, funny story. This one time I was sanding hats out back. It was the middle of the summer, and I actually took my shirt off.
Yeah.
Right, and the Elton John Lion King song. I can't remember the exact song, but if you know it, you know it. And this one time, I'm in the back, and it was like, can you feel the love? It was Can You Feel the Love Tonight? And I'm in the back, I'm sanding hats, it's the middle of the summer, you know what I mean? To quote Step Brothers, I had like a nice little bead of sweat going from my chest down, you know what I mean? And I just come in like holding these two hats, and Elton John just blares out like, can you feel? And I'm just shirtless, And there's these old ladies at the front door, and they just drop their bags. You know what I mean? And it was like, all right, no more shirtless. Got it, And so I was looking for, like, in my opinion, what is like a cheap, affordable shirt that if it gets ruined, I don't care. And I wasn't really a fan of like pulling the Steve McQueen white t-shirt. I'm not really a sleeve guy. Growing up, I was kind of rock and roll, punk rock, Skinner, Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin, all that. And I had a ton of really cool old band t-shirts, which I still have. I always cut the sleeves off. I love to let the sleeves breathe. You know what I mean? And let the arms breathe. And I didn't really feel like wearing all these old band t-shirts anymore. And I wanted some form of uniform, I guess you could call it. And I just think back to like Steve Jobs. It's like every single day you can only make a certain amount of decisions. and like I didn't want my decision to be what t-shirt I was wearing or whatever. So it's like it's one less decision I have to make per day. I just crack open a new pack of beaters and I throw a beater on and it's pristine, it's white, it's clean, and it just works.
Hey, new revenue stream.
Wildcats beaters?
All the beaters that you ruined, sign them, throw them on the website.
What am I fucking starting OnlyFans? Like, what am I selling sweaty socks, bro? What are you talking about?
There you go.
I was selling my dirty beaters.
You could turn them into hat bands too.
Oh my god, you're stretching here. If I start pre-packaging my beaters and selling them out, no, I mean they're destroyed though,
Ziploc
and it's
bag.
you know, shirts are expensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think like, you know, if you're working every single day and let's just say 1 out of every 7 one of your shirts gets destroyed per week and you're talking $50 for like a nice shirt.
I mean, these are like $60, $75.
So let's just say that like you spill a little dye on it or something, right? Boom, your shirt's done, right? $60. Let's say that you do that 4 times a month, right? $240 worth of shirts. You do that every 4 months, $1,000. So what, $3,000 a year I lose on shirts? Pack of beaters costs $12, 10 pack. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
You're golden.
You get golden. You just reload on beaters every couple weeks and you're good to go. And then, you know, but at the same time, like, I'm also a fan of like nice clothes. Like, you know, this is a nice Italian suit. And I kind of always joke it's like it's a little bit of class, a little bit of beach ass. You know what I mean? Like you got the suit on, but at the same time you drop the suit off, tat it in a beater. You know?
Yeah. So funny story. There's a great tailor here. I don't know. I'll give you his number later.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I love a good tailor.
So let's talk about the hat you're wearing right now. Okay. What do we got on there?
What am I wearing?
It's green. It looks green from here.
Oh, cool. What do you want to know?
Well, inevitably, we're going to get a question on what hat is that? Who made it?
Yeah, right. It's got a gold nail in it, so you know who made it, baby.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So, what shape is it? What quality is it? And
so
can they get one?
It's 100% beaver. Its color's olive green.
It's like a Gus with a bunch of. I mean, it's almost like a campaign hat.
Yeah. So there's a movie called Killers of the Flower Moon, Martin Scorsese
I've
film,
seen that.
and there is an actor. Shout out to Tonka Means. I think he follows us on Instagram, and we always kind of credit where we found it. But I personally am really inspired by. I'm really fascinated with the Native American culture. I mean, I've got a little headdress over here.
That's right.
And obviously, golden eagle feathers are gone. You know. Before the fucking fish and wildlife comes for me. But yeah, I've always been really fascinated with Native American culture, like the craft that goes into the beadwork and just the overall design and the handiwork is amazing. And if you do any sort of research, if you're a hat person and you really start to look into like Native American hat shapes, they are so original. You know what I mean? They don't look like anything you've ever seen. A lot of them are open crown with one small dent.
Beadwork around the brim.
Yeah, and it's all of them are so incredible. And so I love those shapes. And I saw this particular shape when I was watching that movie in theaters. And I literally I think I leaned over to Ulysses and was like, I'm gonna make that fucking hat tomorrow. And it's not something that like we make for everybody because I would argue it's not a shape that everybody would want to wear. It's something that I enjoy personally. And I like obscure shapes that also are complementary. So it's more narrow. It has the lifted sides. But to me, it's dynamic. It's fun. And then the color I chose was olive green. So, I mean, I probably have 40 plus hats. But on most days, I'm either wearing a black hat or a green hat. And so I think, you know, if you're building a hat lineup and you're a person that's just getting into hats, I think you have to look at your wardrobe and decide, is it a 50-50 or a 60-40 split between black or brown? You know, and if more than 60% of your wardrobe is black, go black. If more than 60% is brown, go brown. If you wear more dark browns, go dark brown. If you want a rich brown, go whiskey brown. If you want a more classic outdoorsman brown, go pecan, right? Or pecan, whatever the fuck anybody, you know, either one of those. And green to me, though, is an earth tone, but it's versatile. So green is one of those colors that go in between black and brown. So like I can wear a green hat with a brown suit. I can wear a green hat with a black suit, but it's an earth tone. So like to me, it's one of the only earth tones where if you believe in the whole crap about not mixing black and brown, which again,
I don't.
You don't?
No.
So more power to you. Ulysses doesn't either, and a lot of people make it look really good. I don't know at what point someone told me that you can't do that, but for some reason I believe in it. For myself personally, if anyone wants to get a black hat with a brown band or whatever, don't care. I think it, looks great, more power to you. I just personally don't, but I like earth tones. So green to me has always been like a earth tone color that you can then wear with black, and I think they just go seamless.
I've got a green hat, and it's probably one of the hats I wear the most.
Okay. I mean, what I will say about a green hat is I own a lot of different hats. Everyone always compliments the shapes of all my other hats, but everyone always compliments the color of green.
Yes.
Everyone always says, that's a great shaped hat, that's a great shaped hat, that's a great shaped hat.
I've never seen a green hat before. What the process is, kind of your wait time, that kind of thing.
Cool, let's do it.
Yeah, all right.
Is this where I get a shameless plug?
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay. Good.
So, all right, how do I start this?
I know that feeling.
Yeah. So you have a lot of inspiration around here. I mean, it's very. We'll roll in some B-roll, but it's kind of. It's a lot, right? Mm-hmm. It's a lot going on. You use most of this as inspiration for your hats that you make.
Yeah, the space has to be inspiring, so the work is inspiring. Like
And
that's how when we come in here, you want to be inspired to go to work, and you want to feel like you can draw inspiration from everything around you in order to create your best work.
you have a huge collection of movies, and that also plays a part into it. Mm-hmm. And all VHS, right?
Yeah, we have a VHS TV. Well, because granted, there's been a lot of really amazing movies that have come out in the recent years, but like arguably, in my opinion, some of the best hats were in older movies, and I think a lot of that also plays in the exact same thing you see with hats today, which is like at some point in time, everybody joined up together and decided this is what a cowboy hat looks like, this is what a fedora looks like, but all you have to do is take a step back 20, 30 years, and every single person's hat looked a little bit different. And old movies are like the definition of just seeing inspiration. And a lot of that wear and tear could be organic. It could be something from an old antique store that they found and used as a prop. Whatever it is, just the weird bends, creases, distressing bands, all that, crown height, shape, and all that, in my opinion, it has only been replicated properly a few times in the last few years, where I can honestly say like that was a good job. But back in the day, I think a majority of those people that were stuntmen and everything, a lot of them lived the life as well. You know what I mean? Part-time stuntman, part-time cowboy. Like these were real people. They weren't just actors. And so a lot of that wear and tear was real.
There's a great story. It's not mine to tell, so I'm not going to tell the whole thing. But I know a guy who made a hat for Daniel Day-Lewis for a movie. And
There Will Be Blood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the distressing was done in the studio, in store, by the hat maker. And they made quite a few of them, right, for the movie. Mm-hmm. And when they saw the hat on screen, they thought, man, we just really nailed that distressing. And come to find out, Daniel Day-Lewis wore the hat for a year without taking a shower and stuff.
to get the real wear and tear.
To get the wear and tear.
Because there's no substitute to it. I mean, you can put dye on a hat, you can put salt water on a hat, you can put a little bit of dirt and everything on the hat, but like there is literally no substitute that I've seen up until this point that like actually replicates what I would consider like the real terrain and sweat of like your actual life.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You can try really hard and you can get it close.
Yeah.
But like you can see the difference, like a trained eye can see the difference between fake and real, 100%, every time. And I think that's the main reason why we're so inspired by the old movies, is because when you look at these hats, they feel real. You know what I mean? You feel like whatever that was real, whereas I feel like a lot of times now, it almost feels too, me just understanding the industry, they feel too much like props. You know what I mean? Whereas like all of those hats from all those iconic characters made the character. I mean, Clint Eastwood would be like a perfect example, like Fistful of Dollars, and Outlaw Josie Wales and all that. Perfection. The hat made the character. It is the iconic part of the character. You put a different hat on that character, it changes the entire character, in my opinion.
We get questions all the time about movie hats, but that's something you do a lot of, right? Mm-hmm. How did that start? Did you start that, or did your customers start that? Where did that even come from?
I can't remember the first one we ever did was Burt Reynolds, and that is arguably just because I love Burt Reynolds. I personally, that was one of the first shapes that I ever shaped for myself was an RCA, but it's like an RCA, but it's not. It's got a shorter brim, a little bit higher crown, and it's a little bit more dented in, right? And so it is an RCA, but not, right? I don't know, and I don't know who originally made that hat. I guess shout out them. No clue. I've done research. I haven't been able to figure it out, and whoever they did a killer job. The metal band on it is tremendous and everything, but that was a personal project that I wanted to do for myself, and that opened the door to different movies. It was
you sell a lot of those Burt Reynolds hats, though.
We've sold a few of them for sure. And funny enough, a lot of the hats that we sell, the Burt Reynolds hats, are people that own the Trans Am as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you got to have it, right?
You have to have the hat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so to get that metal band, we actually take a piece of. I don't know if we take a piece of metal and then we kind of paint over it, and then we actually run it over with a car to kind of create the cool texture on it. It's a whole thing. But that was the first hat that I ever did that was movie specific, was the Smokey and the Bandit hat. And then that kind of opened up the doorway. And then what we noticed is people grew up on these movies. People always wanted to be these people, And so a hat, in a lot of ways, you will never be Clint Eastwood, chewing the small Italian cigar in a poncho in the desert. But put the hat on and go to the bar, it's a close second, maybe. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what I mean? It's the closest you're gonna get, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You can go stand out in the woods and go peer at somebody off in the distance, but the closest you're probably going to get is his hat. You know what I mean? Because I don't know.
At least you can feel it, right?
Yeah. I mean, I have yet to see a poncho done well. You know what I mean? So the hat is pretty much the closest you're going to get to Clint Eastwood.
Well, you have a pirate hat over here, and we'll show some photos of that. Lorena absolutely took photos of that.
Why?
Yeah, and do you wear it out?
No, I never wear it out. No. But I will say, about 5 years ago, I was talking to Joe, and I made a pirate hat for shits and giggles. I had a felt that was completely ruined, and I started f***ing around. And I just made a tricorn, and I laughed about it, and I'd wear it, right? And we were living on the farm, and I'd wear the pirate hat around, in the farm, and we'd just joke around. And so have I occasionally thrown the pirate hat on when it's time to get to f***ing business? You know what I mean? It's pirate hat time, But I was joking with Joe, and this might rattle some cages, but at some point, when everything becomes fashion and things can become trends, then trends can fade, right? And so I personally do not think that cowboy hats are a trend by any means, and I think that with social media, different trends have all become omnipresent, which means that you can walk into a bar now and you can see somebody in a cowboy hat standing near somebody that looks like they're an old English gentleman standing next to somebody who's a punk rocker with eye makeup. You know what I mean? So it's we're kind of living in this world now where everybody is almost treating life like a video game, and everyone has a character and they're modding out their character, and then they're just merging, and everyone converges in these small spaces, and you're just there's that version of humanity next to that version, and it's creating this really cool mix match of cultures. But I was joking. I was if trends are cyclical and cowboy hats do catch on, if history serves, at some point in time, there's going to have to be another trend. And I was where do you go after cowboy hat? And I was it's got to be a f***ing pirate hat, right?
It has to be, right?
It has to be a pirate hat.
Absolutely.
But so I'm not saying that I think that's going to catch on, but yeah. I will say that why not? I don't know. I mean, at one point in time, everybody wore a tricorn hat, and then now there's not a single person probably walking around in the U.S. right now that's not reenacting something in a tricorn hat. So, what would be the reason that somebody all of a sudden would wear a pirate hat? And arguably, all it's going to take, in my humble opinion, is some dude like Pharrell to show up in a pirate hat, and before you know it, everybody's wearing pirate hats. And I think everyone I think everyone really underestimates the power of influence when it comes to like fashion icons.
Yeah.
And it's like we're like one, summer runway show with some brand away from everybody wearing pirate hats. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm just saying if somebody was to do it, I think you'd be surprised how non-reluctant the market is to embrace new trends. And so I would just like to state for the record, if pirate hats become cool, we make
You
cool
started it,
Yeah,
right?
we made pirate hats. But no, we made that mostly as a joke because it was my birthday.
Yeah.
And just wanted to do something fun. What's up, baby?
Well, all right, so we know the functionality of a cowboy hat, right? Keep the sun off, right?
What is the functionality of a pirate hat?
Absolutely.
I have absolutely no idea. I had like buccaneering and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, arguably, when life is more serious than a cowboy hat provides, you know what I mean? It's time to really get down to business. Maybe it's pirate hat time. You know what I mean? Arguably, I think, Claire, do you have a pirate tattoo? Clara has a pirate tattoo. I have a pirate tattoo, and Ulysses has a pirate tattoo. So, like, arguably, like, we've got.
You got to run the Jolly Roger up, man, outside the building.
Dude, we actually have a hat on our website called the Jolly Roger. Yeah. Yeah, and Jax actually has a Blackbeard pirate flag on his harness.
Okay.
So again, we are not pirate hat makers. But if it became a thing, we make a damn good pirate hat. Just for the record. Yeah,
Right.
I have practice. I have made.
Halloween's coming.
Halloween is coming.
Yeah, my girlfriend wants a pirate hat bad.
Well,
I know.
you know how to make a hat.
I know. And it's a damn good pirate hat. Like, for the record, I got the distressing right to the point where, like, the brim kind of crisped, and I did the same texture that we do where if you provide a little bit of, I'm not going to say the mixture, but you put a substance on the hat, burn it, and then sand the substance off using a high grit sandpaper, you actually take all of the fluff off, and you turn the hat into, like, a leathery texture, and so it's kind of cool. It kind of reminds you of a leather pirate hat. But will this be the first time a pirate hat ever makes its way?
It's absolutely the first time.
Ta-da!
Yeah, and we'll get some close-ups of this. And also, it's got the gold nail.
Yeah.
Pirate hat with gold nail.
2 gold nails.
2. Yeah, I mean,
But
if you had Joe put a skull in there, it's the skull and the crossed bones.
I love how, like, throughout this entire interview or podcast, the only hat that we're showing of ours is a fucking pirate hat. So
We're rolling B-roll in.
no, I know, I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah.
No, and you can keep that in too. I think it's funny.
So if somebody wants a pirate hat,
If somebody
Not
wants
really.
a good custom hat that fits their personality, where did they go?
yes.
Just go to the website.
Go to the
There's
website.
like more than enough places. If you're coming in store, you can schedule an appointment. If you want to talk about it, you can schedule a call. If you want to get a size kit, if you don't know your size, you can get a size kit. If you just want to fill out the contact us form and say, hey, I like this, this, and this, but I'm not ready to buy a hat, happy to reach out and just thank you for your time.
So how does your size kit work?
Dude, it's not. We're working on it right now. We've tested out a few different head measuring devices. You'd think that like measuring your head was like inherently easy, but it's actually really hard. And we're working on actually a first of its kind head measuring device, which I don't want to talk about because someone might steal it. But we've got one that should be dummy proof. But the biggest issue is obviously just like oval, right? And so
Yeah.
I've seen Cowlot does it really good with like a metal wire and everything. We haven't tried that out yet. To be honest with you, because we do the video call with most people, taking a good gander at their noggin, you can get a pretty good feel for the shape of somebody's head if you can look at it and see kind of where it goes. But, arguably, unless you're using a conformator, which we have over here, arguably, hats, unless you have a perfectly, round oval or, oval-ish shape and you block it on the right block, if you have a different shaped head, arguably every hat's going to take a slight bit of break-in process unless you steam fit it, which, isn't that hard at home with a pot of water. You know what I mean? Just get a pot, put a little piece of tinfoil on it, poke a hole, put it on top, pop it on. Life is good. This is Jackson.
Or Henry, or
Johnny. Did you name him after Johnny Cash? Frankie was the best. Hi, baby. Hi, my love.
oh man.
What else you got for me?
So, what about lead time? Like, if they order a hat today, they're not getting it tomorrow.
No.
You guys are busy.
Industry standard, and you...
A year. Industry standard's a year.
All right, so we're way better than that. Yeah. And I don't know if it's that we're not busy as everybody else. I don't know what everybody else is doing. So, like, I don't know how busy everybody is, so I can't speak for the entire industry and why it takes a year. A lot of people cite supply chain issues and different things like that, which is totally a realistic thing. Arguably, I would say max, you're looking at 6 months.
Yeah.
But on average right now, our calendar, I think, is booked out for 4 months.
I think probably with your staff, as many people as you have, and as many hats as you're making, you're probably on the higher end scale of production. Some people are making a lot less hats because they have a lot less people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're a year out. You know, one man doing it all himself is
Mm-hmm.
a year out. Somebody at this level is probably 6 months. It's about
Yeah, so we try to keep it around 4 months because we like to be slightly above industry standard. Around 2 to 3 months if you order something off of our website specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I would argue we're doing a pretty good job, but we're hyper aware of that, and I don't like waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the common misconceptions is like, you make a video in 60 seconds, how long does it take to make a fucking hat? And first of all, it's a video, Hollywood movie magic, right? It's a small 60-second snippet of a long, much longer process. The three things I would cite is like, number one, if I took a call every hour on the hour and Ulysses took a call every hour on the hour and we got here at 8 a.m. and we took a call from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m., right? I mean, arguably, we'd only be able to take about 15 calls, per day? 15, 16 calls max per day. You factor that in, you do that 6 days a week, you're saying like max you could get 60 or 70 hats done. So if you have any sort of life or any sort of off days, and you don't take a call every hour on the hour for eternity, then arguably at some point you're going to have some slight overage if you have a good sales week. And, calls, like, the customization option, right? Having to do that video call with the people and give them the amount of time that they need takes time. Right? So there's only so many hours in the day and only so many hands they can make a hat here. Number two, supply chain issues, right? How quick can you get the felt in? If somebody asks for a silver belly 100% beaver and they're currently producing dark colors, not pastels, like, you're shit out of luck. Like, it's going to be a little bit longer until they move into pastels. Now, if somebody orders and they're doing pastels and you get boom, you know what I mean? You're in there like swimwear. But supply chain issues are an issue. And then, the third part about that, which we don't show a lot in our videos, but is a very important part of hat making, which you can hear the sizzling in the background, is blocking a hat. And so let's just say we have 2 to 3 blocks in every single size. If, let's just say 60 to 70% of all men have a very similar size head, somewhere between 58 to 59, which arguably I would say that is a good statistic. Everyone is arguably between 58 to 59, which is why when you go into a boot barn, everyone always says, well, I never found a hat that fits. It's like, because they only sent 162. The rest are 58s and 59s.
Right.
So that one guy came in and bought the one allocation of the 62, and now it's gone, and now you don't think that hats fit your head, but the reality is they had one, but it only made up 10% of the total inventory, right? So when it comes to blocking the hats, if it takes a couple days for it to dry on the block, to properly dry, especially if you have 100% and it gets a little wet and like you're drying it and it's humid outside and it's not sunny and it can't dry in the sun, it takes 2-3 days to dry. If you have 10 hats to do that week that are all that same size, you can only technically get 4 to 5 done per week, which means it takes 2 weeks to get through 10.
So that's your bottleneck right there.
The bottleneck is essentially blocks. But
you need
even
more blocks.
Even if I bought 10 sets of blocks, then I would need more hands,
Yeah.
right, to be blocking. So arguably the end-all be-all answer is a finger puller. And I would argue that hat makers that have a finger puller are blessed, and we have one on order, but we're on a second floor, and so until we figure that part out, which is TBD, until we figure that part out, you can't even arguably get a finger puller up here. But that would be the answer to the blocking problem,
Yeah.
right? But until we have that, I mean, there's only so many hats you can do in a day. And so usually what I tell people is this: there's 2 choices when it comes to buying a hat from us. You can either get one in 4 to 5 months, or you can never get one. You know what I'm saying, though?
Yeah.
So, like, you have 2 choices. Like, let's say you're 45 years old and you've always wanted a hat. You've spent 45 years of your life without a hat. And I'm telling you that in 4 months you'll have a hat. But you spent 45 years waiting. What's another 4 months?
Exactly.
So your 2 choices are either you're patient with us and we get the thing done and you absolutely love it, or you never have one. And so what's better, 6 months or eternity?
You know what I mean?
Yes. I like that. I like that. It's really good.
But that's the reality of it, right? Like it's either like you wait 6 months and you get the hat that you want from us, or you never get it.
We hear people all the time, a year wait, who's going to wait a year for a hat? I want it now. Like,
Yeah, well-
that's a great,
I mean, you're either going to wait a year or you're going to wait eternity.
yeah.
Your call, man. And I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, and I'm also not going to tell you to wait a year.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, and we're not a year for the record, but like,
No,
but like,
obviously.
arguably, it's like, let's just say it is even 6 months. Like, would you rather wait 6 months, or would you rather wait your entire life?
Yeah. Or get something that's just, okay, or maybe not exactly what you wanted, but it's a hat.
My
right?
entire thought process on that would be, do I think that there's a lot of amazing hat makers out there that are probably doing better work than we are? Totally. Do I think that we have really great marketing that might be above and beyond what we see in the industry? Probably, right? So
Yeah.
it's like strengths and weaknesses. Do I think that there's a ton of amazing hat makers? I mean, everyone is doing impressive shit, and it's like textbook, and it's awesome, and the materials, everyone arguably is using around the same materials, right? So like, really material limitations can only go so high
Right.
before you say like, how high quality is a high quality hat, right? So I think everyone's doing an amazing job, right? That being said, if you're not willing to wait for us, then every single person that is in our category has the same weight. So the only thing you can get, if not us, is shit. You know what I mean? Because you could go get one from anybody else, but you're still going to wait.
Yeah.
So like, if you want to go get a hat from somebody and wait 6 months, and you think this particular hat maker is worth 6 months,
Right.
but we're worth 2, that's a matter of perception. But in terms of like quality, craftsmanship, and like the final product, every single person that is in our category has the same, if not slightly higher wait times based on the size of the team. So like, you either choose to wait or you get shit.
The only option for custom is to wait. If you want something right now, it's going to be what you're going to go pick up in a store.
Yeah, and I guess I don't mean to say that it's shit,
Yeah.
because they are amazing hats.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm
They
just saying,
can be.
If
I mean,
you
some
want,
are.
If you want custom, then you have to wait.
Yeah.
If you don't want custom, then and if you want it even quicker than that, then you're getting shit. You know, because people say all the time, like, oh, well, I could get a good hat off Amazon. It's like, do it.
Do it.
Fucking send me a photo, man. Let me see that thing. You know what I mean? Like, I could get a hat like this for $25 off Amazon. I'm like,
Yeah.
prove it.
Go ahead.
Let me see it, bro. Let me
You
see
are
it.
not our demographic.
Yeah, like, I mean, someone commented the other day on I don't remember what hat it was. It was like, oh, I could find this hat on Amazon. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like,
Why not Temu?
yeah, I'm like, but I was thinking to myself, I'm looking at the hat and I'm like, so I got on Amazon, I like Googled, and I'm like, they don't even have, like, you can't even really get a cowboy hat.
Right.
Like, it's not like Stetson sells on Amazon. So it's like, what are you even getting on Amazon? Like,
Yeah.
you know, what is it? Like iParty? You know what I mean? Like, what are you really getting on Amazon? It's Amazon for hat makers that's a tough one.
Hey, man, they're probably the best-selling hat maker right now, right?
Yeah, they're killing it. I got to figure that out.
All right. Hey, did I have anything else on that list real quick? That's too funny.
I don't think so. We can wrap it up now.
All right. Anything you want to tell these guys before we wrap it up?
What, the world?
Yeah, the world, because the entire world watches this show.
It's in Australia, United Kingdom.
They do watch us all over, and I'm not diminishing our
No, I know.
viewers at all, but it's not like we're CNN.
No, I mean, I guess my one piece of advice to the world would be, whether you buy a hat from us, you buy a hat from anybody else, at the end of the day, if you've ever thought about wearing a hat, do not let the concept of wondering if you look good at a hat or any personal insecurities stop you from doing something you want to do, because at the end of the day, life is incredibly short. And when you're laying on your deathbed, you're only going to regret the chances that you didn't take. And I'm not trying to get super deep, because it is just fucking headwear. But at the end of the day, if you want to do something, I see absolutely no reason to not at least try to do it. And if you try to do it and it doesn't work out, at least you tried. But I will say that if you do business with us, and I'm sure if you do business with a ton of different hat makers, we do try our best to make sure that you look good. Because if you look bad, we look bad, and we don't like looking bad. Stay wild.
All right, Lorena is going to make me say this, and even though I hate it, Guys, hey, if you like the video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel and helps us get this content out to more people, and it costs you nothing. So we really appreciate it. Chandler, thank you so much for having us in. Really appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, man. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Cool. Cheers.